Hey everyone, welcome back to the Keep Watching podcast, where we decide what to watch so you don't have to. I'm Sarah.
And I'm James.
And today we're going to be talking about Transit Love 2, episode 19. One more episode to go after this, James. We are deep into this.
We're
How you
feeling
feeling?
I'm feeling okay.
Yeah?
I think we get some potentially new perspectives in this episode, honestly.
Yeah.
The one thing I wasn't doing with this show, and maybe it's because we did it probably more than we had to on Heart Signal, so I was over it. Was like really thinking about like the edit angle of things, and it's not really until this episode do they finally reveal some like, okay, maybe editing. Well, it's not exactly like fooling us, but it's like, oh, they could have been fooling us if they wanted to in some cases. And then in some cases, I think they were fooling us a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is a very revealing episode about some of the dynamics that might have seemed weird or
definitely
the whole time.
I agree.
Yeah. But we got to talk about comments from listeners.
Yes, let's do it.
Because I have a feeling, well, it's only really one comment that somebody thought we were too negative about the show. Finally, somebody thought we were too negative about the show. But I suspect that's not the only person, and especially for episode 18. I was still particularly fed up with a bunch of people. And I like, so many people get into it as we go, but like so many people were saying like, oh, episode 18 is the best episode of the season. I actually agree with that. Like it's the most important episode of the season. But yeah, it just took a long time to get there, and I got frustrated with so many people along the way. But this episode 19 though, it might have changed my mind on people.
Okay.
But we'll
I'm
see.
excited to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah. So Camille left a comment on the prior to the episode 18 release podcast. I believe first time commenter. So happy to have found the podcast about Transit Love 2. They consider Transit Love 2 to be in the top 2 of best creating dating shows.
Oh dang.
And was looking forward to us talking about episode 18 because that might be the best episode of the show. We definitely were worrying about being super negative about the show because I think the majority of people that are listening to us talk about it are like huge fans of the show, and we are like we're diving deep into this, but like compared to the people that the listeners, were very like not super fans of the show. So so Camille, thanks for the comment. And then we got another first time commenter from Mins prior to the episode 18 release. They recently discovered the podcast and really loves it so far. I think this is like very common opinions there, that you are more of the like audiences, the standard audiences takes of the show. I'm different takes. I suspect no one's flat out saying what it is exactly, but my suspicion on that is that because I dislike so many people on the show, that I'm probably saying negative things about like the popular characters on the show, which 100%.
I would have assumed it was because you have enjoyed reality content for so long, you watch it from a different perspective, you focus more in on like edit stuff and that deep dive stuff, whereas I feel like I watch it more like a casual person does, so it makes sense that your perspective.
I guess for this I don't think that's right though, because like I really haven't thought about the edit of the show that much, or at least not in very many episodes. Like maybe we did that in the beginning, but I don't really remember. To me, more or less, I've just like taken the show for what it's given me, and just like been like, I don't really like how this person behaved in this situation, and then
that's true. You are just like, I guess, kind of quick to cut people off.
It just like snowballed. The length of the show and how long they refused to let the exes interact with each other. Just like it felt like it just took too long. But now we're finally here in episode 19, and I was dreading a lot of these ex dates that are in episode 19, but they're actually good. Like I wish we could have gotten this so much sooner in the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Mins also says that Transit Love is their favorite Korean dating show, and that the full arc of the show makes everything worth it. Now we haven't finished.
We've heard that a lot.
Yeah,
when we ask like why people what people are enjoying about the show. It does come back around to the full arc a lot.
Yeah. And now that we're seeing that, at least the start of this, I don't know if we're going to be on the same page as far as what we see as the end of the show. I'm not sure. But it does make sense. Like a lot of the characters have like good beginnings, and like from where they start on the show to where they end up on the show, I do think there are going to be a lot of characters with good stories from that perspective. It's just kind of the middle area of the show that got me like so negative about everything. Because and I honestly just think is because it was just so long that it took a while to get to the good part. And
I feel like it's just if we hadn't had Hidu and Nayeon, I think it wouldn't have been as tedious, you know, because they're always fighting.
That's definitely part of it. Yeah.
Coming back to the same thing over and over again, you know?
Yeah. I guess I got to the point where like almost every like major relationship on the show became tedious because it was just the same thing for nearly everybody for so long until they finally let the exes date each other in this episode.
Yeah.
And then we actually made progress towards like what the final direction of the show actually is. So yeah, I believe we're gonna get some interesting endings now to these. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. And then Interregnum left a comment on after listening to episode 18, and we finally broke somebody. We broke Interregnum.
Oh,
we finally
not intentionally.
We finally broke Interregnum's spirit by being too negative about the TV show.
Oh.
And I definitely suspect that Interregnum is not the only person who feels this way.
Yeah.
And I totally get this. I totally get it. We I don't know how far back we talked about our worries about this, or maybe we only talked about it off the podcast, but we were definitely worried about this. Like once there were like too many episodes in a row where we were like really shitting on people and just the show in general, we were like, I don't know if anybody actually wants to listen to us talk about this. I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah.
But I totally get this. Like I'm watching like the current season of Big Brother right now, and I was listening to like live feed update podcasts like every day because like the gameplay was like super interesting for the first like 2 months of the season, and now the gameplay has slowed down, and like the discussion on the podcast is like how this one guy is like super creepy to this one girl, and then the other half of the podcast is like complaining about how like the competitions are way too favored towards the men winning them versus the women winning them. And all those points are valid and fair, but I don't want to turn on the podcast every week and just listen to people complain about those two things. So I checked out of the podcast for like at least a week, and then I'll check back in when something new is going to happen on the show.
Yeah.
So like I totally get like not wanting to listen to negativity. Like there was that point in the show where I was like, I don't like talking negatively about the show. It's like, but I don't like regret anything I said about anybody on the show. Like they were triggering me and I reacted the way that I feel about it. So I don't know how you feel about it, Sarah. How do you feel?
I don't know. I haven't gone back and re-listened to the last episode. Maybe I should have. But I do feel bad because I appreciate like people are spending their life minutes with us, right? And that's like your ultimate non-renewable resource. And so like I want to be considerate of that when we put out really fucking long podcasts. And I would like to keep putting out content that people enjoy, but sometimes things are a bummer, and I'm sorry if I'm a bummer about it.
I don't really feel bad about it, I'll be honest. Like ultimately, like this show is, I mean, what we're doing now is different, but ultimately like the idea of this podcast is to like review shows and give our opinions on them. And like I do think it's important that if anybody gives a shit about my opinion on the show, which they don't have to, but like I'm just giving my honest opinion on the show.
I definitely don't want to fake
like,
it.
If I tell you like this bothers me, I don't like watching this, then you'll know that if I say something is good and I love it in the future or in the past or wherever, like, oh, that actually means something. Like I'm not just saying everything is good, you know? So I don't regret it. Like, but I totally understand anybody that's getting annoyed with us, and I still appreciate the comment, Interregnum. I'm glad somebody told us, because we felt that way for so long that it must be frustrating it to some level to hear us talk negatively about the show. And I'm not going to stop saying negative things about the show. I do think I'm not changing my attitude or anything, but I do think there's a lot more positive things to talk about in this episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do it. We're so close. We're gonna make it.
Yeah.
We're going to make it.
We're gonna make it. I hope the listeners make it with us too.
Yeah, we'll see. Interesting enough, Interregnum's actual big heel turn of the season was Ji Young convincing Na-eun to pick Gyumin for that date in episode 18, I guess it was.
Yes.
I forget what that happened.
18.
But she like used the phrase like, "You'll be stuck with Tae forever," and that was like the big line that Interregnum, like the straw that broke the camel's back on Ji Young, basically. It's interesting because we didn't get into that as negatively with Ji Young, because
I think we did say it was a shitty move, but I think like it's a move we kind of expected from her at this point.
Yeah.
It didn't hit us quite as hard.
It definitely is. And what I suspect with Interregnum is that they really liked Ji Young maybe up until that point in the show, and then that was like heartbreaking to see her behave that way. Whereas I was kind of fed up with Ji Young way back from the ex's room. How she kind of like treated Tae like she's the only person in the world that will ever love him, and it's basically up to her if their relationship is going to work. Like she just has to decide. That's where I was out on Ji Young. So it didn't impact me as much when Ji Young did this with Na-eun. And also I would say, like, going into this show, like, I didn't know how the show was going to work, but that level of pettiness was kind of the level of pettiness that I was expecting.
Yeah.
Where, like,
there's surprisingly not a whole lot of people actively trying to get in the way of other people in that same way, you know, like talking shit about their exes. Usually people are actually talking nicely. I
don't think they're necessarily talking honestly about it, but yeah, they're at least trying to appear like they're not petty.
Yeah.
Other than like Na-eun and Haeun, when they finally like literally had the opportunity to choose a date for somebody.
Yeah.
And that, I guess that's like similar to what Ji Young did, but for some reason it bothers me more because it's like the context is like they're trying to get back together with the person that they're screwing over. So it, like, the logic of that is what doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think it's at that point, like, things with Heedu are clearly not working out for her because Heedu's all caught up in Na-eun, and I think she was just like, Tae's my only option, but he's only an option if Na-eun doesn't pick him.
Yeah.
And it was...
What's different compared to
what... That is kind of extra petty, yeah.
No, what I'm saying, I actually dislike what Haeun and Na-eun did more when they got to choose their ex's date, because it was, like, counterintuitive to what they wanted to happen. Whereas Ji Young trying to trick Na-eun into not going on a date with Tae is like the level of pettiness I expected, where like theoretically Tae will not find out about it and it won't look negatively upon her, you know.
But it is worse. It is worse to do to Tae, because if he doesn't find out about it, then he just thinks Na-eun isn't into him that much.
I guess, yeah.
Whereas
you could look at that
the
way.
other guys are just like, oh, my ex just fucked up a date that, you know, so they like have all the same information they had before.
I guess like the strategist in me just was like, this is so stupid what Na-eun and Haeun did. Whereas what Ji Young did, I'm like, this is like, if this was a social strategy game, like this makes sense what she's doing. So,
well, either way, I am glad to be out from under the impending doom of whatever the heel turn was going to be. I don't have to worry anymore. Thank you for letting us know.
So yeah, we'll push forward. This is also something I actually do want to apologize for. AH, and I assume other people might have had this perspective. Actually, like AH actually expressed like concern that we were not going to talk about some of the dates in episode 19.
Oh,
because I was this is totally on me for not making this clear. But this, like, me saying that I don't want to talk about some things is like mostly a gag, because to me, I feel like I keep saying like we don't need to talk about this, and then we always just end up talking about it anyway. So
because I insist half the time. I
assure you, we are talking about every single date that happens in this episode. That's my bad. That's all. That one's on me. So hopefully, if people made it through episode 18 and listen to episode 19, hopefully we can do a little bit better on this podcast.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hoping. And please let us know. All comments accepted, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Where did we leave off in episode 18, Sarah?
Okay. Last episode, people got to choose their own date, except they couldn't choose their exes, and they only went on dates if they matched up. And so we only got 2 matched up couples. It was Jisoo and Gyumin, and Haeun and Hyungyu. They went on dates. And then it was the big truth or dare situation at the end, which was the main thing.
Yeah, the truth or dare. I'm pretty sure I said this last episode. Like, the truth or dare segment is the best segment on the show. So, like, last episode was great. It's just,
yeah,
I'll admit, I continued to, like, pretty much hate every single person on the show.
Oh.
Which I think I'm going to step back on a little bit in this, just because of some things that are going to be revealed here. But, yeah, let's do it. And now, going into episode 19, the exes are now being forced to date each other a day before the final decision.
And key things from Truth or Dare is that Haeun, like, tripled down on just human forever. He was the answer to all of her questions.
Yeah.
And the person she asked all of the questions she wanted to ask.
We find that out in this episode that, like, literally every single time she asked a question, she asked Human a question in the Truth or Dare game. That was how it was edited in the show, but I would not have assumed necessarily that was the case, but apparently that was the case. Yeah, I think maybe we don't talk about it now, but we can definitely get into the production strategy and how I actually, based on how I think the end of this show is going to happen, and I think we should do maybe final predictions at the end of this episode for what we think is going to happen in episode 20. Now that I see where the show is going with some of the changes in narrative that are going to happen in this episode all of a sudden, I think I see where the show is coming from with their overall production strategy and who they decided to make the game changers, and really of, like, making sure, like, exes almost never have an opportunity to have an official date with each other. Yeah, because I might have to give the production credit, like, they might have just known how this shit was going to play out from the beginning. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of some of it
milking it for all it was worth.
I think some of it is, like, a little bit of not showing us exactly what was going on, and then some of it is like people definitely still acting a way that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But the show may have had an option of not making them look that way, and I think they switched in this episode to, like, finally making that person seem less terrible than they are in reality. And they could have been doing that the whole time, and they chose to not do that. So here we go. Let's get into this. So we just start off right off the bat here, Sarah. The Gyumin and Haeun flashback edit twist is in the making. Here we go. Right in the start of episode 19. We definitely discussed I brought up, the not so unlikely possibility that Gyumin and Haeun end up picking each other on the show in the end. And you were very, I don't know if you didn't believe it, but you were very against, like, a world where that happens. So
yeah.
How did you feel at the very beginning of episode 19 when this segment started?
I don't know. I went through a lot because there's stages to it, like, I've been annoyed at Haeun a lot, right? But they have hit some of her maybe spicier like actions that would have made me even more annoyed with her. Like,
okay, I think you've disliked Gyumin more than Haeun. Is that not true?
I feel like a lot of times I was defending Gyumin in certain situations where the two of them were arguing because I felt she was being over the top ridiculous about expectations from him on this show.
Oh, you think you defended Gyumin? I think early on you were defending Gyumin when I used to hate Gyumin more in the early days, and I was defending Haeun because she was, like, crying all the time. She just got brought into the show, whatever. Yeah,
which I think is what you were supposed to feel. Yeah. Like, that's what the show wanted.
Then I've totally 180'd on it, and I think you've 180'd in the other way, where now you're defending Haeun and you're more anti-Gyumin.
No. I am not defending Haeun. I just am hoping for a weird fairy tale ending. That's all.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to stick with that opinion, that weird fairy tale ending is going to happen despite this entire episode.
But your fairy tale ending is that Haeun and Hyungyu are a
Yes.
thing. Okay.
Yes.
Which this doesn't seem like a fairy tale ending to me based on how Korean dating shows are often edited. But
Okay.
we'll see. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what I wrote down is in this flashback, the vibe I get, it feels like it turns out Guman has been interacting with Haeun in some on some level, like throughout the season. But from his perspective, every time he tries to interact with her, like she is actually mean and cold to him.
Yeah.
Which is like not something that was being illustrated to us up until this moment right now, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, I mean, we only got to see maybe 2 or 3 instances of it in this flashback.
Yeah.
But if we're supposed to assume that, like, oh, this was happening more than those 2 times,
yeah,
it's like, okay, maybe I could see where Guman has been coming from this entire season.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can give him. I'm still on the fence. Like, can I give him a full pass on the inviting Haeun on the show and never being interested in her? Like, honestly, he might have been open to dating Haeun again when he invited her on the show, but then when production didn't put Haeun in the beginning, and then he started having feelings for Nayeon.
Yeah, that's when he switched over. Yeah.
And then, like, he did try to engage with Haeun, and then he actually soured on Haeun, like, after she got on the show. Like, not entirely because of his feelings for Nayeon.
Yeah, I think that's entirely likely.
Okay.
That's
at least what
here.
The show seems to be saying now in this, like, big opening second to last episode twist flashback here.
Yeah.
And then Guman and Haeun are gonna, like, go have a private conversation in, like, the changing area, which is not an area that we've really seen on the show.
Yeah.
And Haeun actually, like, agrees with Guman and says that she's been she agrees that she has been being mean to him, but, like, from her perspective, she didn't think it was, like, that mean.
Oh, she goes down this whole path of, like, I want to say, like, it's kind of gaslighty. Like, she's just like, oh, well, I was just goofing around. And he's just like, I don't get why you would act like that. And he's like, well, we used to date, so, I thought you would just get it that I was goofing around. And then she just keeps talking, and she's like, I thought we were close, and I felt like we were still dating. And if I was that mean to you, it's probably just because I was heartbroken, so it's all your fault. And you knew I was gonna get jealous, but you were, talking to Nayeon in front of me, so that just made me resent you. And I didn't cozy up to anybody other than that one time I'm drunk. So, like, she just goes through this whole long list of, like, reasons why her behavior's okay, and it's really his fault. And I don't like it.
Yeah. Okay, so interesting. You're actually, like, very anti-Haeun in this whole discussion that's happening.
Yeah, in this whole thing, I'm just like, secret villain Haeun.
Okay.
Which actually, you know what? I'm not that surprised about, given, like, when she was lying to the girls in the talking room, she was very just, like, so pleased with herself. And all the weird menacing texts, like, I feel like it's been there, but we've just not seen the very overt, like, her just straight up being mean or ignoring him, because the show wanted us to feel real bad for the crying girl the whole season.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. I'm more on the fence about this whole conversation because I don't know Haeun, obviously, but from these flashbacks that they're showing, I do agree more with Guman that it doesn't seem in these moments that they're showing like she is being playful. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that she wasn't thinking she was being playful. And because of the whole dynamic at the time, like, this is way back when they were still in Seoul and they weren't allowed to give away who their exes were.
Yeah.
And, like, I can see that, like, Haeun and Guman maybe, but in Haeun, at least in these flashbacks, like, maybe she was just bad at dealing with I'm not trying to give away who my ex is. And that's why, like, she was, like, doing things that maybe are normally playful for her, but, like, she wasn't able to do them in, like, the normal manner that it was clear that she was being played. I don't know. So I'm not as like oh, Haeun is, like, 100% in the wrong here, but yeah, it basically leads they have this, like, back and forth, which I will say is, like, they essentially have this like super calm argument with each other. Like I wouldn't say Heian got like crazy.
It's not like their previous interactions.
Yeah, this is not like a Hidu Nyan argument. This is like they're just sitting on the floor or on the stairs and they're staying pretty calm, but they are saying the kinds of things that are like accusing each other of like, oh no, you're the one who was cold to me. You're the one being mean to me. Or ultimately, I don't know. It's hard for me to 100% say like, okay, who was mean and cold first, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't start on the show at the same time. Yeah. And Gyumin could have come into the show with the intention of being perfectly pleasant with Heian, but then when she wasn't there, Nyan came, and then he just felt
he needed to shut that whole thing down with Heian so he could proceed. Yeah,
he wasn't immediately cold with Heian, but then when Heian was reacting to him with Nyan, and then she, whether intentionally or not, acted cold to Gyumin, then Gyumin felt like that gave him the green light to do things with Nyan in front of Heian, because Heian was being cold to him anyway. So like he was like, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's like a bit of miscommunication that is basically just built into the rules of the TV show. Like it's ultimately it's the TV show's fault that they weren't able to communicate.
I would be more on board with that if her reaction to it had been better. If it had been that had just been like the isolated incidents where she was being awkward because she didn't know how she was supposed to behave on the show. And then during this conversation is like, yeah, I'm sorry. I was, I just didn't know how to not show that you were my ex, instead of, oh, no, it's your fault that I behaved that way. And then if not for all the other like things she did where she was like yelling at him for dating someone on the dating show, like I would be a lot more in the, oh, maybe it's just a misunderstanding. It's perfectly fine camp. But given all the rest of that, I'm less charitable towards her right now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm definitely still like an anti-Heian person, and I don't know what the popular audience opinion is on Heian, but this in particular did not like increase my dislike of Heian. Like it was like I don't really know. It felt more of a production. Like this is the show is designed for this to happen to people essentially.
That is true.
But your point is fair. Like this has happened multiple times in the show where like I feel like I'm able to come up with an explanation for somebody's behavior that makes sense, but ultimately they are not using that explanation to justify their behavior, which means like, and then their reason is like not a good reason. So I don't know. I guess I'm not sure what to believe.
Yeah.
But so I would say like they both accuse each other being like cold to each other, and then they both accuse each other of like flaunting their dating success in front of the other person, which I do feel they are both guilty of. That's my opinion on it.
But I also don't feel it's a big deal. You're on a dating show. Like you both have to have realized this is what you signed up for. Like that's explicitly the point of the show.
I don't know if like flaunting your dating success is like the point of the show. Like you can do it, and the context in which both of them did it, I did not appreciate it. Or like I sympathized more with the person that was not flaunting.
Yeah. Maybe flaunting is the wrong word for what is expected of the show. More like you just need to be prepared to see that your ex is going to be dating someone else.
Yeah. And I like back when Gyumin did it, I think the show has given us enough evidence to show us that Gyumin did that intentionally. And I think it was definitely unnecessary. Like it happened. Like if you go to a date, you come back with the person on the date, like you were going to get seen dating other people. But this was different to me, the way what Gyumin did. Like it was very intentional what he did. Now, the piece we were missing at that time was that he was under the impression that Heian like wanted nothing to do with him because from his perspective, Heian was being cold to him. And that puts a different light on that situation. I mean,
she was still texting him the whole time.
She was still texting him the whole time. I'd have to go back and see how many. She definitely texted. Yeah, she definitely texted him on like the first night. I thought about after this episode, like how much am I willing to give Gyumin a pass on some of the stuff that I was negative with him about. But yeah, it's still a little suspect. And ultimately, like what it feels like might be happening in this episode is just like, oh, you are realizing Nayeon is not a thing, and like Haeun is now your like backup person that you're coming back to. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Right?
Okay.
You don't. Oh,
At
you
this
don't
point,
think
I at this point that was not something that crossed my mind.
At the end, by the end of this episode, you don't think this is where Gimun's going?
I don't know.
Wow. Okay, we'll talk about this.
I'll make up my mind by the time we get there and talk to it.
I will convince you by the time this episode's over. Okay.
I'll say like there's probably room for it.
It's already happened. I think it's over.
Okay,
Now, Haeun's decision, I think the show has done a better job of making that less obvious.
Okay.
I still have a guess
as
to what it is.
There's room for my weird fantasy ending where she picks the new guy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say there's not a chance, but I'm definitely not leaning that way.
Okay.
But yeah, and then honestly, like Haeun's flaunting situation, my frustration with it is mostly the fact that it was done while drunk, and like and she did like they came up in this conversation that like she was definitely using the fact that she was drunk to try to minimize what she did. And I'm just not somebody that like gives people a pass for being drunk and what they do. So I know some people probably do give her a pass on that because of it, but I don't. So that's why it was particularly frustrating with me, especially from my perspective that it's also now like ultimately Kyungyu isn't really going to do anything different on the show, so it might not affect it, but like she's giving Kyungyu not the full information. At the time she was not giving Kyungyu. I think Kyungyu has the full information now and he's just decided to roll with it. But it was like you're theoretically flaunting and you're also not really being honest with the person that you're supposedly into now. So that's why I didn't like it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I wrote by the end of this conversation, so I was like, basically these two are getting back together, right?
Yeah, at this point I did not think they were going to get back together.
Here's my point. I'll give it. Gyumin would not be having this conversation if he didn't want to get back together with her, right?
No. I think this all happened because he came in and said, hey, this is the time we're going to leave for this date we have to go on tomorrow. And she was just like kind of bitchy at him. And he was like, better have a conversation about this now so I don't have to deal with this all fucking day tomorrow.
You think that's his approach right here?
I think that's why they had this conversation, because he pulled her aside and went, why are you being such a bitch? What's going on? You know, like.
Oh, wow. I think he's gotten to the point where he realizes that he still has feelings for Haeun and is now open because he's in no man's land on the show. He's open to getting back together with her. And like, this is actually like his attempt to like squash some of the things that have been going on between them on the show.
Oh, I did not read it that way at all.
Okay, interesting. This conversation is very long, by the way. They stay up till, I think we find out, they stay up until 6:30 in the morning.
a.m. Yeah.
Like even before we found out how late they were in there, or we saw like the sun come up, like the way that this conversation was edited, it was like Haeun was sitting like cross-legged on the floor, and then the next shot she's like lying down on the floor, and Gyumin is like they changed positions in the room so many times that you're like, this had to be a super long conversation.
Yeah.
And that especially, like all of a sudden, Gyumin isn't just giving Haeun the time of day. It's like, oh, he's staying up all night to talk to her now. Like, I think that means a lot in terms of what he's open to with her in this moment. Like, I think he has a goal in mind here. That's not just like I want to make sure tomorrow's a good time. It like, to me, that doesn't really make sense, because it's like you could just have this bad conversation tomorrow and have it and not have to do this now.
Well, the difference would be having that conversation out in public and just like being awkward and like,
I guess,
respect.
Yeah, I mean, it's all public essentially, no matter what. But they're not. Yeah,
they're not random passerbys.
They're not immediately having strangers watch them, but ultimately they have strangers watching them no matter what.
Well, yeah.
But all right. Meanwhile, while this conversation's going on, who starts out in this room? It's Hyungyu, Naeun, Jiyeon, and Hidu?
Yes.
Okay. And
I was very confused about what was happening for a while in this scene, honestly.
They're just doing like skincare routines together.
Yeah,
that's what
but
it starts as,
but it seemed like they were making a mask out of paper instead, or it was way too big, or something. There was some sort of like DIY situation happening that
okay.
confused me for a while.
Yeah, but they're just like hanging out as
Yeah.
group. But then eventually they do start talking about Heian and Guman.
Yeah.
As they know that they're like off talking to each other somewhere. They don't know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they actually, their perspective on the Heian Guman stuff is that like they actually think Guman is being mean to Heian, but they like also get where he's coming from. Is kind of the dynamic.
But it's also important to remember that like mostly this is Naeun and Hyungyu talking, and they have been here for the least amount of time. So if there was Heian behaving badly times that happened earlier, they have missed that.
Yeah. They're also way more intuitive than Jiyoung and Heedu are, though. So
yes,
might be the better perspective. Yeah,
that is true.
I just thought it was interesting to hear, like, okay, they think Guman is being mean. It's interesting to see what their perspective is on it.
Yeah, but they do agree that he's doing the right thing if he has no intention of getting back with her. He's
that's
not like leading her on.
That's exactly so. Maybe this wasn't where you at, but that's exactly what they're saying. Is like he's being mean. But I get it. He doesn't want to get back together with her, and he wants to make that clear. Meanwhile, to me, little do they know, Guman is trying to get back together in right now.
Yeah.
As they speak, he's talking to Heian and trying to get back together. From my perspective, you said
if that's true, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't completely agree, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and at some point, Naeun and Hyungyu are talking openly about their relationship, right?
Yeah.
To like the whole group of 4.
Mm-hmm. They say a lot of nice, supportive things about each other.
Yeah. Naeun seems to think that she could have been a better person when she was dating Hyungyu. Is that kind of what she was saying?
Like dating him made her a better person.
Made her a better person? Okay.
She grew up through the process of dating him into a better person.
I was taking in the moment here, I was taking this as a sign that like, all right, maybe they're gonna try again.
Oh no,
because I've not been.
I did not take it that way. Because he's the whole time going that and she's sure a mess, but I'm gonna pursue her blindly for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately still where he is at the end of this, and then we're gonna get the Naeun Hyungyu date was not as interesting as I thought it was going to be in terms of them potentially being a thing. We get a lot of extra backstory, but I don't know. I had vibes here that I guess it doesn't matter ultimately, so we don't have to talk about it. But I had vibes that like, oh, maybe Naeun is like kind of giving off signals that she's still interested in him. And their dynamic is weird. We can definitely get into what their true feelings for each other might be once we get to their date.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, my mind was spinning on the possibilities of.
Oh, I was just like, they are not couple goals, but ex-couple goals, you know? Like, they are reasonable to each other and still able to say nice things to each other.
Okay.
Good job.
All right. And then at some point, Heian, I guess they still stayed up all night too, because Heian and Naeun joined them, right?
Yes.
They both joined them. Okay.
And at this point, Heian's like, I finally understand Guman's feelings. How many times have we heard that before? And she's like, I totally made up my mind now. I'm like, I don't believe you.
This is what's crazy to me. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm terrible at reading situations. It could be me. But somehow Heian has interpreted this conversation with Guman the exact opposite way that I did. Like, she's like, now I realize, finally, after all this time,
yep,
that he doesn't want to be with me anymore.
I'm gonna
I'm
defer to Heian on this because she understands that man a little bit better than we do, I think. So
I don't, but that's like at least the edit that we were getting is like, this guy is not giving you the time of day, and she's not, and she keeps saying like, I just think if I could talk to him, like have a good long conversation with him, that he might change his mind. And then she gets that good long conversation with him, which to me indicates that clearly something has changed in Guman, that he's willing to have this conversation with you. Like, he avoided this the entire season, right?
Yeah.
And then her interpretation of Guman finally talking to her is that, oh, now I realize that he doesn't want to be with me. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's so backwards.
I think that really his openness to talk to her now probably has a lot to do with the truth or dare game, because she said however many times, like, I just need to go on a date with him and talk so we can talk and I can get over, like, we can get through this and I can figure it out. You know, like, I'm at a crossroads and if we could just talk, then I know what was going, like, so he's like, fine, we'll fucking talk.
Yeah, but he didn't wait for the date for that. Like, I don't know, he's putting in extra work here. That's all I'm saying. Like, he didn't need to have this conversation with her. He was already being forced to spend the entire day with her tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have to do this. If he's doing it, there's a reason he's doing it.
I think it is to make the date smoother and just more tolerable. Just like, get this shit over with now.
All right.
And then I don't have to deal with it while we're on a fucking zip line tomorrow.
That is not how, there was somebody I truly did not want to interact with, there's no way I'm putting in extra work into interacting with them. I'll just be like, tomorrow's going to suck, whatever.
No, if there was somebody I knew I had to see again and I went, hey, we're meeting up tomorrow, and they gave me some sass, I'd be like, what the fuck is your problem? Can you just get over this so we can deal with this shit?
No way.
And like, dude, do this thing tomorrow.
No way.
Yes.
Because there's no reason to believe that talking to them all night long will make the next day actually better. And now you just made your conversation with them twice as long, if not more, and it was still equally shitty the entire time.
I mean, if you have not previously expressed that you are annoyed at their shitty behavior, and you go, hey, your behavior is shitty and it is annoying me, please change it, there is some amount of hope that they will tone it back a little bit.
I guess, but if you really don't care about somebody, like, enough to, in this situation, like, the way Guman has handled Haya the entire season is like, there's no point to answer your questions. Like, I'm not trying to get back with you. So why now? Why now?
Because he had to watch her cry through Truth or Dare for like 2 hours.
He's seen her cry the whole season. I don't know. I think this is a giveaway here. All right. Yeah. So confused by Hayan's reaction, at least to me. Mm-hmm. My stance on Hayan is whatever logic makes sense, Hayan will just always see it the other way. That's my perspective.
Okay.
Like, oh, you want to get back with your ex-boyfriend? Yeah, just do exactly the opposite of what they want you to do. That'll work. All right. Well, I guess it's going to work. I guess I'm predicting that it's going to work. So what the fuck do I know? Jesus.
Fair.
All right, yeah. The sun is fully up and shining. So they
go to sleep.
Everybody decides to go to bed. All right, intro music. Episode 19, The Last Date. And I was like, okay, yeah, these ex's dates are actually the last date. And it's like, okay, no, they're not. And I'm glad they're not. I'm glad they're not.
Yeah.
I really think the show would have been dirty to just not let the exes interact or like have a big official date the whole season, and then
just the very last moment.
Very last second, it's like, here's the last date, and this is the last one. You're not going to have another chance to compare and contrast your options. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it finally looks like they might actually have good weather. We haven't totally talked about the weather, but like kind of the last handful of episodes have been like not great weather. At least overcast, a lot of rain.
Yeah.
But it's actually nice weather for today on the show. We
actually get 2 women on their dates say that they're the weather fairy. Like whenever they have a big important thing, the weather is nice. And it was just, okay. I was hoping it was going to be literally everybody who said that, but it was only 2.
Yeah, I might have to fact check that belief, but okay. Yeah, everyone's getting ready for their date. At this point in episode 19, I'm kind of excited for these dates now, you know?
Yeah.
The Hayan Guman thing seems it's like an actual thing. So maybe that date isn't going to be the same recycled Hayan and Guman content that we've had for the last 10 episodes where maybe their dynamic will actually change.
Yeah, like he might actually answer questions or respond to things she says.
Yeah. And honestly, I wrote in my notes like right now, it's like I'm kind of rooting for just all the exes to get back together at this point.
No.
Just for the laws of it all. But then I wrote except Tae and Na
and Ji-young.
Like I want Tae and Na to get together. But then I was like, but then Ji-young but then Nan and Hyungyu can't get back together. So it breaks 2 of the things already.
Yeah.
But I'm not actually fully rooting for all the exes, but I do think that would be a funny conclusion to the show.
It would be funny. I want none of the exes together.
No, you're definitely not gonna get none of the exes. Well, I guess
I
it's not impossible that none of the exes get back together, but extremely unlikely at this point, considering.
Yeah.
I guess we can't get 4, right? So it's either all of them or 3 or less, right? Okay. I don't know.
No, we could get 4 because Jisoo and Wonbin aren't on the show anymore, basically.
But Jisoo and Wonbin
just
might pick
everybody
each
else.
other.
Ooh, I don't think so. I
You
do
don't
not
think
think so.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything, but they could pick each other. Because
I think to just be like cognizant of each other and like nice to each other, they're not gonna pick each other, you know?
Okay. Wonbin, it turns out Wonbin might actually just pull the move of not picking anybody,
Yeah, I love that. He was I was like, that's a baller move.
I wonder if they'll let him do that in the end.
Probably not. What if he's just not in the last episode, like at all? Like, was he in this episode? Just a bit, because they've made the exes go on a date. Other than that, he wasn't there.
I do think seeing Jisoo and Wonbin in this episode was like worth it, just to kind of finish up their story, and like it seems that they're at the point where they can be friends, right?
Yeah.
By the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the final decision, you could probably leave them out. Like this could be the last time we see them on the show, and I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. They've got their whole thing wrapped up.
Yeah. All right. It's time for dates. Do you have an order to this? I'm assuming we're not going to jump around like the show does. Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
I have it in the order that they started, but maybe that's not the order you want to.
Yeah,
do them
I mean
in?
that's the order my notes are in. I have not power ranked these dates on best to worst, so it's fine.
Okay, the show's gonna be jumping around a lot. We'll just do the entire
that's what you usually do.
And Nayeon date up until all these dates are gonna kind of end at the same time, and we'll get to that point on all these dates. Okay, Hedo and Nayeon.
Did you catch that she came in before they left to ask him if he was going to wear their couple shoes?
Was that their actual couple's shoes?
I don't know if they wore them, but why else would she ask him what shoes he was going to wear?
I assume they were trying to match their shoes, but I didn't get the sense that she was necessarily specifically asking about the shoes that Hedo got her, because also those weren't comfortable, right? So why would she?
Yeah, I just assumed she was asking about their literal matching couple shoes.
Oh, did they wear them? I don't know.
I didn't notice.
Okay. She might have mentioned them, but I thought it was more of like, because at this point, like, we're going to find out. Going into this date, Nayeon is going to tell us that she is 100% picking Hedo in the end.
I love this graph. Like, the graph just comes up over top of her confessional with like, 100% gonna pick Hedo, and then but tanks later during
the graph is 100% fake news. It's not real. Like, she's lying.
I mean, the graph is representative of what she says, but what she says is bullshit.
She's not good at actually estimating the percentage chance that she is going to pick Hedo in the end. Like, honestly, but I think she's exaggerating the dips based on moments throughout the date. Basically, it is. I just love funny. That it is funny.
They took the time to make a graph for this. It's just funny to me.
Yeah. So I didn't really get the sense that they were necessarily talking about their couple's shoes, but from Nayeon's perspective, like, she's going into this date and treating it as if like Hedo is her boyfriend who she wants to coordinate. This is their
fresh start. Yeah.
She wants to coordinate outfits, or at least shoes or whatever, with him, because she's 100% in on Hedo.
Yeah.
First thing I wrote is Hedo is surprised to hear from Nayeon that Jiyeon still has feelings for her ex, meaning Jiyeon still has feelings for Tae. Hedo is shocked to hear this. And his reaction is like, he feels like Jiyeon has lied to him, if this is the case.
Yeah, which is just so silly.
Yeah, he really wants to blame Jiyeon for why his relationship with her like didn't work out. Like that's still the sense I'm getting. There is going to be a big like change in at least the edit of how Hedo is going to be represented when he talks to when he talks to Jiyoung later in this episode. To the point that I wrote a lot of borderline positive things about Hedo at the end of this episode. He was at least just like not being terrible, and I'm not sure if that was real, but that's how he was portrayed in the end of this episode. But right now, in this moment, how he's reacting to this news about Jiyeon and how she feels about Tae, like, this is the Hedo we've had the whole season, where he's like, where he's like, I can't believe she lied to me about how
yeah,
she
yeah.
feels about her ex, even though like I clearly am
Constantly gaslighting
trying
her
to
about how
date
I
two
feel about
people at the same
everything. Yep,
time
yeah, yeah,
also. Yeah.
yeah.
So they're going to talk about the changes that they need to make. The changes are that's the topic of discussion in the Nyan Hidu
Yes.
universe
She's
right
gonna
now.
try to understand him better. And he's like, well, what the fuck do you want me to change? And I don't know, he gets weird.
This is how it plays out. So yeah, they're talking about what changes need to make. Then Hidu asks the question like, oh, so what changes do I need to make? Seems like a reasonable question to ask, right?
Yeah.
I did notice this in the moment, and I think we're gonna see it later. Like Nyan doesn't instantly answer the question. I'm not sure how long Hidu gave her to answer before he chimed in again. But the next thing we see is so he asked the question, and then we see immediately followed by Hidu suggesting that people always tell him that they like him for who he is. So he's like,
no. He's saying that she says that all the time.
I maybe I misread it. I thought he was saying like people tell him this, and she has said it to him before too, and then she immediately objects and is like, I would not say that about you. I don't know if she ever said it before, but she is objecting in this moment to that concept.
Oh, I thought the "some people like me for who I am" quote was like what she always says when he's shitting on her and trying to change her. She's like, other people just like me for who I am, and you're always telling me I'm awful and trying to change me.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's right. I thought it was like he was saying like overall my experience with people is that they appreciate me for who I am. And you like he's saying like why can't you be the same way essentially right now like he asked the question as if he wanted to hear what changes he could make, but then the show at least makes it seem like he's also saying in the same breath almost like, but just so you know, like
I shouldn't have to change.
People say that who I am, the way I am as I am right now is good. So yeah, but Nyan immediately objects to this sentiment that he's tried to give off, right? Doesn't she?
Well, yeah, she does eventually like give him all the things that she's like, you can lecture me, but just like don't be a dick about it. It's like one of her big things.
Well, she
just,
gets
like,
there eventually.
Be nice
you're actually
to me.
skipping ahead, I think, by saying.
Well,
that.
yeah, because they started talking over each other a lot, and like the shot kept zooming in, and I just like legit had this uneasy, uncomfortable feeling, and I'm like,
so
I don't want more arguing.
This is the full scene to me. So like she objects immediately to the concept, but still is not saying like no, this is how you need to change. She's not saying that right away. She's just objecting to him suggesting that he doesn't need to change. And then Nyan still doesn't really answer the initial question, but like the camera zooms in on her face and she looks pretty disgusted with Hidu in this moment. And then you're right, like they essentially like do like some classic bullshit argumenting where they start arguing out whether or not they are currently arguing. That's a classic.
Yeah. You're in a good space when that's what you're arguing about. Yep.
I will say, like, to be fair to Hidu, it does seem like she was not answering his question. I feel like she has brought up this concept of change so many times. Now, she did tell him before, and maybe she doesn't feel like she needs to say it again.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why she's not going into it right away.
And he has also, in one of the texts he sent her, said something like, we really need a change. So there should be some idea that he understands what is wrong with their relationship and should probably have some idea about how he can change to make it work.
She had a very optimistic interpretation of that text. I don't think Hidu actually said verbatim, like, no. I agree, I should need to change in that text. He was like...
But, like, she's coming to this conversation with, like, here are things I'm willing to change to make this work. And he is coming with, do the emotional labor for me. Figure this out yourself. I am not involved. Like, I can see why she would be like, what the fuck, man? Like, you need me to tell you how to be better?
Yeah, well, I think it's fair for him to ask this question, but also she's already answered it before. But I can understand, like, the frustration in the moment of, like, oh, he did ask her a question, but she's not answering it. But then eventually, like, he re-pushes her to answer the question, and then she finally, like, basically says all the stuff she already said before. So I was a little confused. Like, I was like, what is Nyan's plan right now? Like, why is she sitting there? The first time she brought this up with Hidu, the edit we got was like he sat there in silence and did not react.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And now Hidu is kind of engaging in that conversation and being like, how do you want me to change? And then now she's sitting there not saying anything. So I did think it was weird, the lead up to this. But eventually she does say, like, put out the list again of the things that she doesn't like.
But I think she came into this, like, she had her optimistic point of view where she thought they were on the same page, where he also, like, his idea of change lined up with her idea of change. And so it's her just being disappointed that, like, oh, no, we're not on the same page. This is not going to go as smoothly as I hope.
It's actually, like, now that I think about it, it's, like, almost the exact opposite of their last conversation when they had, like, the secret conversation or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, Hidu probably felt like, oh, she agrees we need to make changes in our relationship. And he went into that conversation feeling optimistic. Then she came at him with, hey, these are all the ways you need to change for this to work with us. And then he got stun locked and couldn't answer, right?
Yeah.
And then now Hidu, coming into this day, is ready to talk about the changes. But Nayeon, somehow, I don't know why she interpreted all that positively, but she's coming into this being like, I'm 100% in on Hidu. Like, I think we're on the same page now. And now Hyun is like, Hidu is bringing up the changes, and then now she's stun locked because she didn't. She thought they were on the same page. So it's just like a weird back and forth where they're like pretty much never on the same page with each other.
Yep.
Yeah, this is her list. She wants him to be nicer to her, not treat her like she's stupid. Mm-hmm. I think she does say it a little differently this time than last time, maybe. And stop trying to fix her. I think were the 3 that I wrote down.
These are all super reasonable, basic human respect requests.
Yeah. I will say it's a bit ironic because she is very actively trying to change Hidu right now. So, like, the reasonable thing to do here, if, like, she is actually really fed up with Hidu and is to
never see each other again.
To give up on him. Yeah. Like, right. I agree. The things that Hidu is trying to fix about her are stupid. And the things that she wants to fix about Hidu, like, will actually make him a better person.
Yes.
It's like, I'm 100% on that page. But there's, like, a bit of irony here that she said she can't see, that, like, just trying to get somebody to change is just, like, it's just silly.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, as much as, like, Hidu does get on Nayeon, and it's, like, not fun to watch and feels gross, like, does Hidu actually want Nayeon to change, or is this just, like, the dynamic that he enjoys in the relationship?
Oh yeah, I 100% think he enjoys making her feel less than him all the time.
Yeah, because, like, I feel like I know people that are like Hidu and Nayeon. Do you feel like you know people like that, Sarah?
I have made a point to not continue to spend time with people who are like,
I don't have a choice.
Okay.
I don't have a choice, but I feel like I know people like Hidu and Nayeon, and it's like, the relationship can work. Like, they are, like, married people and they work or they get through life with each other. But at some point, like, the Nayeon person, like, the Hidu person's not changing.
Yeah.
So in order for it to work, the Nayeon person just has to be, like, choose to interpret their behavior as, like, their way of loving.
No. The Nayeon person has to leave because they're borderline being emotionally abused all the time.
That's how I agree. Like, that's what I would do if I was the Nayeon person. Like, I'm not dealing with this shit. But I know plenty of relationships in real life where it's like, I'm like, I see the dynamic of your relationship, but you guys seem to be fine with it all, I guess, and I guess that's fine.
Yeah, the one person gets emotionally bullied into just accepting the situation.
But I don't think I know a lot of people that are like, oh, my partner used to be a Hidu, but then I fixed them. Like, I don't think that
you can't fix people like that.
Yeah, but I do think there are plenty of Hidu Nayeon relationships out there where the reason it works is because the Nayeon person just chooses to accept and interpret the Hidu person's actions as, like, their way of caring for them, essentially.
Yeah, which they should not do. They should leave.
I'm not going to tell people like how they need to, like, live their lives and be happy, but
a lot of this Hidu behavior is emotionally like manipulative and gaslighty and like borderline abusive, and like just people need to take a minute and consider some things and probably leave is all I'm saying. I don't want to like normalize this type of relationship. It is not healthy. It might occur a lot, but it's not a good situation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm just saying it's not like this dynamic relationship is, yeah, it's like it's borderline like cliche almost.
Unfortunately.
Especially in like the man is the Hidu and the woman is the Nyan. That's like a very cliche. Like it could definitely be the other way around too.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. I will tell, I mean, if people want my advice, I say get out of the relationship. That's
yeah.
I think that's the healthy thing to do. But that's because I wouldn't be able to deal with it. But if you could deal with it and you can have a happy life, you know, who am I to say?
No, I will be the person to say. Okay. Run away.
Ultimately, people are happy. I'm not gonna pry them too much. But we've been watching Nyan and Hidu, and we get the sense that they're not happy. So
yeah.
But yeah, Nyan could just decide to be happy all of a sudden, and it's fine. Which is like kind of what's happening.
Ugh, and I hate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know how when we first found out they were exes and we got a lot of their history, and like one of them or both of them said that they canceled a lot of dates on the way to the date because they argued so much in the car. I'm like, oh, I could see it now. Like,
oh yeah,
just the two of them in the car. I'm like, if this was not on being filmed, they probably would have just been like, fuck it, let's go home and
yeah,
turn around. Yeah.
Nyan, as much as Nyan was in on Hidu at the beginning of this date, she might have wanted it to be over.
I mean, the graph says that she's down to 10% at this point.
Yeah, she goes from, and this is like where it doesn't make sense. You can't
can't be fluctuating like, this wildly.
I don't understand you as a person if you're fluctuating this much. Because it'd be one thing if Hidu was acting totally different than he has the entire time, and like something new has come up that you didn't realize. But as much as we don't like Hidu, he's very consistent with his behavior.
Yeah, yeah.
So going from 100% to picking Hidu to 10% because of this conversation in the car makes no sense to me.
It's just because half the time she is willfully like ignoring all the problems just because they have a history together, and yeah.
So yeah, I don't believe her numbers at all, even. But this is a funny gag that the show is going to do throughout.
Yeah.
All right, they are going to be going on a hike up a mountain, right?
I feel bad for the poor camera guy who's like walking backwards up this mountain so he can film them for a good portion. That's what you're thinking about? That's what I was thinking about.
I was thinking about like, is it established on the show that like Nyan doesn't like hiking? Or I feel like she hated walking up the stairs at the place.
Oh yeah. I mean, to be fair, there were some very steep stairs at the old house.
I kind of get the impression that they did not choose these activities.
Yeah, I think they got assigned them. Yeah.
Like, I almost think production gave them go climb this mountain because they knew it would irritate Nyan. That's honestly kind of what I think. Because we're gonna see, we're gonna see very specific things play out where like Gyumin and Heian are gonna go ziplining, and like one of the biggest couples vacations they ever did was like a ziplining tour through Laos. So it's like that's not a coincidence, right?
Too convenient for that to line up. Yeah.
I don't know how many options they had for locations, but I think production is choosing these spots.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a Nyan activity, but it seemed like a cool thing to do to me. It seemed like a fairly serious hike, and was a good view at the top.
Yeah,
solid.
Absolutely. They take a bunch of photos. And she's back up to 50%, apparently.
Yeah.
That's all it took. A hike up a mountain.
Yeah. She literally just needs, like, time for him to not... Like, because he didn't do anything positive, right? He just, like, didn't...
I think he just stopped talking.
Yeah, he just stopped talking, and then she's back up to 50%.
Yeah. So maybe the change needs to be just like, hey, Hidu, just half the time, you just can't talk.
Yeah.
We need quiet time.
I don't think that people that make this relationship work are fluctuating up and down like this. You know, now maybe they were at one point and then at some point they full switch, but like they're more like, you know, they're always 100% in on the person, and then like they might get slightly irritated, but then they ultimately choose to be like, wow, they really care about me if they
yeah
if they say certain things. Okay, whatever. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, they go up the mountain. Next, they go to a cafe, right?
Yes, and she thinks a pizza is for them, and then he's real mean about it for no reason,
I
and
was
she starts
confused.
crying.
Yeah, I was. I just wrote it down as like Hidu was bossy about ordering food, but there was something very specific about this where like a pizza was presented to them as if it was theirs, even though they didn't order anything, and then she's like, "Oh, they say it's for us. Maybe it is for us." And then he's just like, he just basically just like, "Don't be stupid. It's definitely
Yeah.
for the camera crew."
Yeah. He's a real dick about
But
it.
then Nyan had like a reaction to it, like as if she also knew it was for the camera crew and was trying to make a joke out of it. I couldn't really follow what Nyan was saying, but I don't know. But ultimately, it's again, she's seeing like, oh, Hidu is still like treating me like I'm stupid, which is exactly
Yeah.
what I asked him not to do. Like,
And belittling her in public, yeah, and
Yeah.
just being a real jerk. And now I think the graph is down to, was it 0 or 1%?
it was down to 1%.
There's still hope.
110, 51%. Yeah. When I wrote my notes, is like Hidu like really does talk to her like she's a child.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
so much so, Sarah, that like it makes me reflect upon myself. Like it's so
Okay.
it's so tricky. Like it's like I have a 4-year-old son,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I probably do talk to my 4-year-old son the way that Hidu talks to Naya sometimes.
I gotta imagine it's a less harsh tone.
Yeah, it's still probably less harsh than what he is. Yeah, but watching Hidu say things to Naya like this like makes me feel bad for treating my 4-year-old son like a child. Like that's how triggering this is. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I'm like, I don't know. It just like it's so it's so triggering to watch Hidu treat somebody like this, which is why I can't stand to watch it. But if people want to like go live together and I don't have to be part of it, I'm not gonna really poo poo it. But when I'm watching it, it's hard to not feel uncomfortable.
But yeah, not only does he like demean her in public and like treat her like shit, but then they sit down and he's just like, "Why are you upset?" And then he says this gem of, "You might not find it upsetting if you give it another thought." Like it's her fault that she's upset right now. Like you should really think about it from my perspective. You were being dumb. Of course I had to yell at you. Like what is this man? Ugh,
Yeah,
it's just some bullshit abusive behavior.
I don't even think Hidu realizes what he's doing necessarily, which is why it makes sense to him to say this. I don't know. Like, I don't think Hidu is like so calculated that he's doing all this intentionally. It's just his like default.
His natural instinct is to undermine all of her feelings. That's, I don't know. I think he knows to a certain extent what he's doing. You know, like he knows when to go back and make her doubt herself. You know, there's some intentionality behind it.
I guess there's some probably like playbook that you develop subconsciously over the years where you're like, oh, I treated her like this and it helped me with the argument. So this is like a tool that I use now. I don't know. Whatever. It sucks.
Yep.
So I sit down and they start having their beverages or whatever. Nyan does start talking about how like she sees that Hidu wants to protect and take care of her. So
but she does say that she starts talking also about how his words hurt her.
Does she?
And
okay.
He interrupts her to just be like, "Hey, you remember that jelly candy that was on your bed? That was me." Like that's an intentional, like, completely derailing her. She's trying to express how he makes her feel. And he's just like, no, remember I did this nice thing for you that you didn't even know. Oh man, I'm amazing. Like,
oh, okay.
And it works because she immediately brightens up. She's like, "Oh my God, that was you."
Yeah, these two are they're meant for each other.
No. They are meant for away from each other and straight to therapy.
Okay. But also, if you were really 1% on somebody, I don't think you would even bring up the fact that you understand that they are protecting you and taking care of you.
Like, oh, yeah.
So,
she has exaggerated
these
her
numbers
percentage.
are not right.
I mean, he did also get her a blanket because she might be cold. So, you know, we did not get a graph update after that happened.
Did you see the way he gave her the blanket, though?
Oh, yeah. He just, like, dumped it on her. Like, oh, my God.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like, we're getting, because of the confessional and the graph and everything, like, we're getting Nyan's perspective throughout this whole date. but we're not really getting Hidu during the date. We're gonna get Hidu more later in this episode, but I don't know what Hidu's state of mind necessarily is in this moment. But because I kind of get the vibe that he is more out than not on Nyan in this moment. Not that I believe that he won't come back eventually, but I don't know. I don't know where he's at in all this in this moment.
Yeah, I feel like he probably just doesn't have anything compelling to say about how he's treating her terribly, like, and they're not going to dig into that and because they don't, like,
he's not going to want to.
They're not going to be real. Yeah, he's not going to want to talk about it. The show's not going to want to be like, are you an abusive son of a bitch? I don't know. Maybe we should talk. Like, that's not the vibe they want to give out, even though, like, it's hard to hide. So it makes sense to me that they did not show any of his perspective when he's being a shithead.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay. All right. That's about the end of this date. And things going to happen, but we can get to that after we do all the other dates, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. I don't know. How should we do this?
I mean, there is
let's just talk about. We just want to talk about what happens at the end of the dates now as we go.
Yeah, sure. So everybody gets a text. The date with the ex is now over. You can have a secret date with someone other than your ex. Send the name of the date you want. If it's mutual, you'll be matched. And I did note that other people we see before this get this text, and it is like the sun is setting. It's pretty dark. I feel like it is still very bright outside when they get this text in this date. It's almost like production was like, okay, wrap it up. We can't watch any more of this. Like, you get dismissed early. Or at least, like, they might have gotten the text first out of anybody, just... Yeah. It was still a little earlier in the day.
Yeah, I guess production probably didn't text them all at the same time. I didn't see the drastic differences in the daytime. But yeah, it would make sense that the dates that might be stalling out, they would just... Yeah. Or they went to all the planned locations and it was just like, I guess it's over.
Yeah.
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 So they might have just done it faster, not that it was necessarily a terrible date. It was just, it went faster for whatever reason.
I like to think that production's like, all right, nobody needs to see this. Wrap it up.
That is definitely not the way production has acted all season on these two. So.
But yeah, she seems pretty pumped to leave, and she leaves first.
What? You think so? You think she was pumped to leave? So, So with these two, they actually show us like Hidu chooses Jiyoung, and then Nayeon chooses Gyumin.
Yeah.
And then Nayeon does awkwardly leave. But based on how we see it later, I guess Hidu matches first, but I feel like Nayeon just got the text back first that told her, like, you matched with whatever person, go see them now. And that's why she left first.
I guess I was contrasting it with the date we see the end of first, where they linger for a while after they get the text. Whereas here, she's just like, oh, time to go, bye. Whereas other people are like, oh, I wish we could spend more time. And the contrast was a lot.
Okay. I would say it's more of just how they edited it, not that Nayeon was like really antsing to leave this date.
I just hope. I just hope for that always. I know I'm not right, but
okay.
I hope for it. Let me have my little fantasy.
Okay. All right, you want to do Gyumin and Haeun next?
Yes.
All right. So here we go again, Sarah. This is more effort than Gyumin has put in the entire season, at least from what we've seen.
Okay.
This is not even part of the date process. He doesn't need to do this. Gyumin makes Haeun breakfast in the morning.
Honestly, I thought he was making it for Nan to like leave behind because they had been doing this breakfast thing recently. I was surprised when it was for Haeun.
Yeah, but it's like, it definitely is, right? Like, it was even like, oh, he was seeing like, oh, Haeun's not going to have time for breakfast. I'm going to make her breakfast. I'm going to put it in like a container and then she'll be able to eat it in the car. Like, he's putting in a lot of thought into somebody that he wasn't putting any thought into before, right?
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Okay. I'll give you that.
And I wrote like, yeah, Han, don't you see what this guy is doing? He's putting in 1,000% more effort with you than he was before. Like, I don't know. I was still like, how is she not seeing what I'm seeing? But maybe, who knows?
Like, you would think she would be extra sensitive to any sort of changes in his behavior and would react to it, which makes me not react to it, Because if she doesn't think it's a big deal, then it can't be a big deal, right?
But this is the first time she's decided that, oh, Gyumin actually doesn't want anything to do with me, even though it doesn't make any sense that this of all things is making her feel that way. But whatever. Okay. They get in the car. she's gonna stare at him while he drives the car.
Oh yes, she does.
Is this creepy? Like I don't really know, but
it's a little much.
It does seem a little bit nuts to me, but like I don't want to.
I mean, at least they are on a date, and it's not like they were driving somewhere with everybody, and she's just like hardcore staring at him in the car.
Okay.
I don't know.
The show chose to highlight it, so I thought like she must be doing something. There's something extra about the way Han is doing it if they're choosing to highlight it in the show. Yeah, they're supposed to go ziplining, but they might go rogue and not go ziplining.
Yes, because she does not care about this ziplining. She just wants to talk to him and spend time with him. Like, even though they had their big talk this morning or whatever, she just wants to talk to him.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually, because like I think ziplining is a fun activity to do, but ultimately, like, you're not conversing that much during the activity. So not necessarily the best, like, we need to talk date, but I did think the ziplining would have been fun. So I was enjoying the choice of date activities on this episode.
But I think it also shows that, like, there's no amount of talking which will satisfy her. Like, she's been saying the whole time she just needs to talk to him, and she got to talk to him many times. I mean, most of them he didn't really answer, but, you know, this big, long talk they did just have, like, felt like they settled a lot of things, and he responded, and she's still just like, no, I need to talk to this man. Like, there's no amount that's going to satisfy her.
Yeah, I think that was clear a long ass time ago, but yeah. All right, but then they're doing the ziplining, Sarah, and we get this super cute video montage of their past ziplining adventure in Laos.
Oh, so many photos and videos, and they look like absolute babies.
Yeah, but they're
so
like
younger.
They're like super cute,
very cute
together, and they're smiling and they're happy, way happier,
wearing couples outfits.
Yeah, way happier than they've ever looked on this TV show.
100%.
There's super positive music during this, and yeah, like, to me, the show is just like, this whole thing is just like, they really milked out this human never had feelings for Han thing, which I don't think was as real as what we were seeing.
Okay. Yeah.
And they really, like, they waited until now to show us this.
Yeah.
To actually, like, to get us to appreciate them as a couple. Like, their relationship was like very dark up until now, right? And then now they're like, oh no, here's some great footage of them. Right?
No, I think when we found out that they were a couple, we got a lot of like, oh, she went to visit him in the military like every weekend, and they wrote so many letters, and like in the X room they had a lot of really sweet things. So I don't think like the entire time their whole relationship has been painted as not cute.
I don't remember any footage that actually made me like think they were a good couple though. Like that, I don't know. Maybe I'm just forgetting. Okay. I do remember like the dynamic they had where she would visit him all the time when he was in the military, and they showed pictures of that and stuff. But it was different. Like, this is different montage that they withheld until now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they don't really get to talk on the ziplining, but it was a cool activity. Then they're gonna get foot baths together.
Yeah.
Han is gonna ask him again what his favorite date on the show was, but then we flash back to like the Truth or Dare game, and we see a question we didn't see in the last episode where this was actually like already asked.
Yeah, Wanbin had asked him about his happiest moment, and he said it was his first date with Nayeon. Which, I mean, to put an extra painful spin on it for Haeun, was the date where they went to the place where he had his first date with Haeun.
Yeah, maybe Gyumin literally just would just fall in love with whatever girl he dates at this exact bar. Like, it didn't matter.
He is cursed by a bar to like only fall in love.
The atmosphere and the drinking, like, he'll always just see that girl as his next favorite girl.
Maybe. Well, they should have made them go. Ooh, they should have remade them go on their first date for this X date.
Honestly. I made it. For some reason, you triggered this in me right now, but I meant to. One thing I was going to say at the beginning of the show was like, you know, if people want to bail on us right now because of our attitude to the show, I get it. But come back when Singles Inferno 3 starts. We are way more positive about that show.
Oh yeah.
Except I will warn people who haven't listened to our Singles Inferno content that we are very anti-fight pit.
Oh yeah, we do not like the fight pit.
We do not like the fight pit.
And I get a little upset about people who hyper focus on one person and get weird about it. that is where I do get a little negative on that show. But other than that,
Yeah.
fun time.
We've watched 2 different shows since you last had that take, though, so I'm kind of curious if your take on that might have changed, but we'll see.
Okay.
I was thinking about the Fight Pit, though. This is so off topic, but
okay. Fight Pit, yeah.
I was thinking about the Fight Pit on Singles Inferno, and like I still hate it in the dynamic of that show, especially at the point that they do it in that show. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I was recently thinking about it because I watched the show The Challenge, which is like a show where your job is to like win physical challenges, and they essentially did the Fight Pit, but it was with like oil wrestling instead of like murky mud water.
And not presumably to show off for potential.
And it's not a romance show. Yeah, exactly. But it was like the guys and the women did it too. So it was like, yeah, you based on the alliances on the show, you saw the team ups, which is what you see on Singles Inferno. So it's not about like, it's also on that show, even though it's a challenge, it's not about who's the strongest. It's like there is like people working together. But the working together feels so icky on the dating show because... Yeah,
there is no need to make an alliance.
Here's my thought. Because I think we said that we don't like the Fight Pit, like, get rid of it. I'm for the Fight Pit. This is a scenario I like the Fight Pit. They show up on day one.
Day one Fight Pit.
Day one, they don't get to talk to each other. The guys don't get to talk to each other. They can see the women. Nobody gets to talk. Yeah. Then you do the Fight Pit right away. Right away. That way, no one has any friendship or bonds with each other where they're... And it's actually what the show intends it to be, which is like, who's going to fight the hardest to win the girl that they want.
But at this point, they have no connections to the girl, so it's not as meaningful.
They got to see him.
I mean, yeah. They're just going to be like, oh, yeah, that's the hot one. But it's different when it's like the one guy who like has wanted to go on this date with this girl for the whole time, but has never gotten a chance. And if he just wins the Fight Pit, then he gets a date. Like, that's more compelling from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, it always works out that way. Like, I feel like they must be like, either they get lucky with who wins the Fight Pit, or they kind of make the narrative around the Fight Pit for that to work. But I don't know. I think the Fight Pit would still be as exciting, I think the women would actually learn a lot about the guys and their like something about their personality based on how hard they go in the Fight Pit.
It is true. I'd be like, oh, the person who sat down first because this is ridiculous. There's a reasonable man. Let's go.
It's not as ridiculous if nobody's teaming up. Like, the strong guys will ultimately win is what will happen. But I don't know. I don't really care about that as much. It's like, I don't know. The girls that are into, if a girl's really into like, oh, I want the guy that can fight on my behalf or whatever this is supposed to mean, like, at least they'll get to see that. And it's not tainted by the guys' friendships later in the game when they like, they choose to help each other based on their friendships, which then means they're basically like deciding for the women who gets to go on a date. Which woman gets to go on a date with which guy. We don't like that. So I'm for the Fight Pit if they do it right away. That's awesome.
I think I don't like it then either.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well, you lose the, like I said, the emotional connection between like, oh, I'm doing this to pick this person that I actually have some sort of connection with, And then it's just all about like, oh, I am strong man, huzzah, and that's wholly unappealing to me.
Oh, I think the guys will still go hard just based on their initial perceptions of the women. And
I think they might even go harder because they're like, this is my first impression, and that's also not what I want.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right,
I want to lean as far back from the Fight Pit as possible.
I'm not expecting a change to the Fight Pit on that show, but I do think the show is going to be different this time around. It seems like based on our reading, they are making changes. I don't expect that to actually change, but that's my idea. That's my pitch.
The women do the Fight Pit.
I know this. I know the Singles Inferno people are listening to episode 19.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're gonna hear me, and they probably already filmed season 3, but season 4. Fight Pit.
Season 4 is where it's at.
Episode 1 Fight Pit.
But it's all the women instead of the men. There we go. And we'll both be happy.
Yeah, I'd be fine with the women doing it too. But it's the same dynamic. I want them to do it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Where were we at here? Footbath is pretty much over, right?
Yeah, she does get all sad again where she's like, oh, you went on that date and you didn't even think about me. And he's like, of course I thought about you. It was where we went on our first date. Stop pouting. Or at least that's how I read it, but that's probably not what he was kinder than that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, they go somewhere else eventually, and then they choose to buy matching bracelets. I don't know if this was like the gift shop in the spa or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was. Well, it was a gift shop somewhere.
Yeah. So they buy matching bracelets, Sarah? You think Guman is buying matching bracelets with Heian if he still doesn't care about her at all?
It might just be a
pity bracelet.
Let me give her one good day before I never see her again.
It's too far though. It's too far. If this is like the equivalent of like if that's what he's doing, if that's what he's doing, like then I would. It's like the same thing when to me as if like when Heian is like holding hands with Hyungyu. Like it's not a reflection of their actual feelings. But I'm choosing to see it as, okay, now Guman, this is a reflection of Guman's feelings.
Yeah, I will give you this. They have a lot of cute moments on this date, and I do think he definitely softens up to her, opens to that possibility a little bit, at least. And definitely by the end, like, he's feeling some feelings.
Not a little bit. Yeah.
I don't think he went into this date thinking, well, gonna make this happen with Haeun again.
I mean, he is totally different than we've seen him the entire season. That could be editing. I don't know, but he is treating Heian 180 differently to me. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
All right. They go to the cafe, and then they're going to get the text.
Yes.
Saying that the date is over and they have to choose somebody.
And Guman seems to get pretty upset about this sudden cutoff of the date. He just keeps saying, like, I thought we'd get to eat together. I thought we'd have more time. And like, he sounds really sincere.
Yeah. For a guy who supposedly was dreading going on a date with Heian.
Yeah.
Now he didn't want it to end. And he's not just saying that in confessional. He's saying this to Heian's face.
Yes.
Which then makes her like second guess the conclusion that she came to, which was that he was over her. And then now she's like, I don't know. To me, she's asking him a bunch of obviously dumb questions because I feel like I've already picked up on it, but she's like re-asking him like all the questions she would ask him before, and he would say nothing. Like, is there any chance that you'd change or whatever? Like, she gets back into that mode, and then she's crying, and then he actually consoles her for the first time all season. Like, he grabs napkins and he's like wiping up her tears for her.
I will say at one point he just like flat puts his hand and the napkin against her face like he's cleaning a spill on the floor, and it was kind of hilarious. It's just full on like, let me cover your entire face with this napkin.
The whole face was tears. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, pretty much. He's crying a bit too. Like, there are emotions happening that I was not expecting.
He's not crying a bit. He's crying.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
She does ask him if this is the end, and he does not answer.
If this is the end. Oh, that was a weird moment. I feel like he chose to interpret it as if she was like talking about the date or something. I don't know.
Regardless, we do not see an answer from him. And maybe that's on purpose. Maybe he said something and they edited it out to try to obfuscate who's picking who.
Yeah. At some point, Guman does say that today's date has changed his mind. He finally answers Heian questions in one of Heian's questions. And he says it, at least as it says in the subtitles, like, I have changed my mind, as if like he's almost saying it. It's not like, is it changing your mind? It's like, it has changed my mind. I don't know. My thing with this whole thing is like, if you really want your date to continue, like maybe you have to go back to the house, but just purposefully don't match with anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that's not what they choose to do.
Yeah, they both pick people that they match with.
Yeah. So I guess if you're skeptical of this actually happening, that could be the piece of information that you look at, but I don't know. I think it's obvious at this point what's happening.
So you think they're getting back together?
Yeah, they're gonna pick each other.
I don't know that I'm fully convinced yet.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, there is some stuff that he says later in his secret later date, and like in the confessional about that feels like maybe he might have had an emotional day with her today, but I don't know that he's completely all in.
Okay, we'll see what I have in my notes when we get there.
But yeah, he leaves and goes to his car and just looks at all their photos from the day and just cries in the dark in the car. So yeah, that is kind of yeah.
I mean, you could look at it as like a similar moment to when Na-eun just like started crying in confessional about Hyungyu.
Yeah, I would compare it. I think that is what
that's what you're choosing to believe it was. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it is like they were together for a long time, and it's still like, you know, makes him feel things. But I don't think he's going back for her.
Here's what I want to say about this moment as it pertains to our previously discussed frustrations with this TV show. This moment with Han and Guman is truly like an emotional, amazing reality TV moment that is triggering no reaction out of me because the show has done such a good job of making me hate these two people. So I don't actually care about them.
Yeah, see, I don't think you're supposed to hate her.
Yeah,
and I think this is supposed to be a big redeeming moment of like, he's turning around. She's gonna finally get what she's been after this whole time.
Yeah, and like if people aren't interpreting it the same way as I do, and they do like Haein as a character, this would definitely trigger an emotional reaction out of you. And like I could see what it's supposed to be doing to me.
Yeah.
And I like it. This is the moment before the final moment when they actually choose each other. So like this is a big, this is a huge moment in the season. This is what the show has been building towards. Theoretically, this is the show that they've been editing around the entire time to get to this point. But for me, it might just be the longevity of it, and maybe it's partially how we watch the show too, where we're watching one episode per week. But we had to tread in the water of like this dynamic between them where Haein is just obsessed with him and he wants nothing to do with her, and we were in that state for just too long for me. And then things happened along the way that made me not like either of them. And then now I'm not invested in them emotionally at this point. I still think like I'm still curious what their story is on the show, but I'm not crying with them. Like they cut to the host and all the hosts are crying watching this.
Yeah, I'm a person who cries at like basically everything, not a tear during this for me.
Yeah. So, but I get, if you didn't have our perspectives going into this, how this is an amazing TV moment.
And, yeah, definitely.
And like worthy of making this probably like obviously it's not for us, but yeah, like in terms of the Korean dating shows we've watched, this is probably one of the biggest moments. Like it's not my favorite moment, but I can see how it's like one of the biggest moments probably out of any of the shows we watched.
Yeah, I agree. It makes sense.
Yeah, and let us know what like you don't have to sugarcoat it. Just tell us how we're supposed to feel. I won't agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you. But just tell me, what was the common perspective of these big moments? I am curious. All right. Tae and Ji-young, that's the next one.
Yeah, this is not much that we see, but that makes sense.
I wrote down some stuff. Let's see. What did I write down? Here we go. We're not skipping any of these.
Yeah, I'm not skipping it, but I mean, this was the least fleshed out date, I think.
So, yeah, it seems awkward right off the bat, basically. The stuff I actually wrote down was like not really pertaining to the date.
Okay.
I did some self-reflection on why I like Tae on this show.
Okay.
Okay.
Hit me with it.
Do you know why I really appreciate Tae on the show?
What?
So Ji-young seemed cool for a while on this show, right?
Yes.
We were team Ji-young at one point. She was fun. She was flirty. She was making the dates fun. She's the kind of
follows her own rules. Yeah.
She was kind of the character on these shows that we enjoy to watch.
Yeah.
Positive, feel good content for the most part.
One
of the best characters.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it seemed like, based on our perspective of Ji-young, like it would make sense that Tae would want to get back together with Ji-young, right?
Yeah.
We were fine with that, like Tae going in that direction. And then the X room happened, right?
Yep.
And she gave off this huge red flag to me where she views their relationship as like it's her choice whether or not it's going to happen. And basically Tae doesn't have any other options.
Yeah, no one's going to appreciate him the way she does.
Yeah, and
He's basically unlovable.
It like kind of made sense in the context of the show, but it didn't seem like she was saying it like in the context of the show. Like it was like in the entire grand scheme of the world, you will only ever be able to date me, and it's up to me. Like that's how I interpreted it, and it felt bad, and it was a huge red flag. And Tae, this is why I love Tae. I started loving Tae after this. Mm-hmm. It's like he immediately recognized this red flag and never looked back. Like,
yep.
So many people on the show are ignoring obvious red flags about people.
They live in a sea of red flags, but Tae's like, oh, don't like this.
Yeah,
Bye.
And he was just done with Jian after that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's just what I want everybody on the show to be doing. And
yes.
Yeah. So I think that's a big reason why I have grown to appreciate Tae on the show. He's like the 1 ounce of sanity on this entire show.
Some baseline self-respect.
Like. I'm exaggerating, obviously. Not everybody is insane on the show, but that's just why. I'm curious, like, how did people feel about Tae on the show? Was he actually that big of a deal? As big of a deal? Like, did people like him as much as we like him? I don't know. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Also, I'll say this about everybody on this TV show. They're obviously put into this situation which is intentionally supposed to highlight the worst sides of them. Yeah. And obviously they can become better people, change, mature as time goes on. And like, I consider a ton of people on the show to be undateable, but they can become dateable people in the future. Like, I'm shitting on them as they were on this show is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Which is a weird microcosm that is not at all reflective of what it is like to date in real life. It is a weird situation.
Yeah. All right. We're Team Tae on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so Tae and Jiyoung are going to be going off-roading in like a 4-wheeler is like what I would call this. They refer to it as a
dune buggy or something.
They call it as a buggy car. Yeah, it was dune buggy. Maybe that's the right word. It looks like a mini monster truck is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they cut to they're like getting ready to drive the car, Sarah. And they cut to confessional. And Tae's like, I've never driven one of these before. And then this super suspenseful music starts playing in the background. At this point on this date, I'm expecting him to die in a terrible buggy accident. Like,
oh no!
I don't know what this music was trying to portray, but I was like, something terrible is about to happen in terms of like their health. Like their lives are about to be in danger. Is how I felt watching it.
I mean, he sort of runs into a bush at some point.
He like kind of runs into a tree branch once. That ends up being what happens. All right.
Yeah, they drive this buggy around. Well, he drives this buggy around. They never swap.
Well, she doesn't have a driver's license. I don't know if she would need one to do this or not. But yeah, it seems like the fun part would be driving it, unless you're into like the bounciness of the car. But it's actually like a funny date to watch because neither of them are like that into it. Like Jiyoung kind of says like, oh, she would be into it if Tae was more into it, but Tae's never into doing stuff. Like she still has that perspective. It's like, oh, maybe Tae just isn't into doing stuff with you. Like we've seen surfing with Naeun and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they're getting like dust in their face from the dirt, and then they're like bumping their heads on like the frame of the car.
Yep.
And like Tae's driving very slowly, I think, much slower than he needs to on this course, and he still crashes into tree branches. So it's comical. I think this date was comical, at least.
Yeah, but there's no connection here. They're not reminiscing about the past. There's nothing about this that makes anyone think that they're gonna pick each other.
Yeah, it's also comical how awkward the date is too. So.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this date a little bit from that standpoint.
I think there's at some point where she goes like, "Oh, it's the last date I'm ever going to be able to go on with you," and he just like says, "I want to go home." Like, that's the vibe.
He's like, "Oh, there's the window to leave. I'm taking that shit right now." So yeah, they get the text. Tae's gonna choose Naeun for the secret date, and Jiyeon basically has no one to choose, in my opinion, and she
Yeah.
says she is going to say something like, "No, I'm not doing it," and I'm not sure what she was referring to. I just assumed she was like, I'm not trying to go on a secret date with Hidu." But
Yeah, that
ultimately,
is what I thought.
she's going to go on a secret date with Hidu. So I don't know. And it's interesting because we're going to see in the Wanbin date, Wanbin is, instead of texting a name to production, Wanbin's going to be like, "Hey, can I just not go on a secret date?"
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I feel like production made him choose, but ultimately he's not going to match.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know the outcome of Wanbin texting production if he doesn't have to choose. But
yeah.
But like Jiyeon could have like picked, I don't know, somebody that wasn't Hidu and just not matched if she really didn't want to do it. But
yeah.
I don't know really what she was talking about here, but I think she'd be fine with being with Hidu if Hidu reciprocated. She felt like Hidu was reciprocating, you know? She's not so out on him that she wouldn't entertain the possibility, right?
And when they do go on this secret date later, she at least acts very into it.
I couldn't tell at what point they were drunk when we get to that, and how much that was playing into it. But yeah, she's certainly, and she's always like that though. That's why it's hard to tell. She's just good at dating, it seems like. But all right, Wanbin and Jisoo date. Here we go.
Seems like they just go to a cafe, and that's it. That's the whole date, right? There's no
they go to
secondary
cafe.
location.
When they get the texts, they're going to be at a different location, but we never got to see what they talked about at that location.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they definitely go to some sort of restaurant or something. But yeah, I wrote down some stuff on this.
Yeah.
Okay. They have a nice conversation where they get to calmly express their feelings this time, as opposed to I think like Wanbin was very optimistic going into their last, what was it? It was the travel date to Jeju.
Yeah.
He was very optimistic.
He was ready to pick things up. He thought it was going in a good direction.
Yeah. And then he realized, oh, it's the exact opposite, and he was caught off guard by it, and then it turned into a whole ugly conversation instead of what it could have been. But here, enough time has passed, and they've kind of done this like silent communication. Like, didn't Jisoo write him a letter or something in between this?
Yes.
So
explaining
he's
how
more
she's feeling,
prepared to go about this conversation the right way now.
And he finally gets to apologize like he's been waiting around to do for so long.
Yeah.
So he's probably pretty practiced on everything he needed to get out, you know?
Yeah. So Jisoo, I wrote down Jisoo admits or realizes now that even if Wanbin didn't go to the military, she still would have broken up with him.
Yeah. And he explicitly asks her that during this.
Yeah. I don't know if it would have happened the same day, but looking back on the dynamic of their relationship, like, it wasn't just because he was going to the military that she broke up with him. The way she says that is, at least in confessional, is like she's explaining it as if like she wasn't even honest with herself about that at the time. But going through this TV show, that's what she believes would have happened if things would have been different.
Yeah.
And then we get her she does explain like her whole take on why she wanted to break up with him. And this is kind of a weird dynamic, and we've heard her say this before, but it's the dynamic where Wanbin apologizes so much to her that it always makes Jisoo feel like she's a mean person that is that is making him apologize, and then that led to her breaking up with him because he's apologizing too much. Super weird dynamic.
They could not handle like conflict in dealing with when things were going wrong. Like, their communication was not good enough to really act like a normal relationship.
I don't fully understand this dynamic from the standpoint of like, what is Wanbin apologizing about that would make Jisoo feel guilty or like she's in the wrong?
It's probably just anytime they had a disagreement, he immediately goes like, "Oh no, I'm sorry. You know what? You're right.
But like, she knows she's in the wrong, and then he ultimately always apologizes, and she feels guilty and like the mean person because of that.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe like she doesn't even have to know she's wrong, but like the point at which he does not act as though his opinion is ever valid has to make her feel not great, like she's steamrolling him, or like they're like the relationship is just we do what Jisoo wants because that makes Jisoo happy, and Wonbin just wants to make Jisoo happy. Like
yeah,
none of it is geared towards him.
I'm just trying to like think about like if I know any couples like that are like this or that ever behaved like this one person. Like so like there are people that I know or meet in life that are just they're the type of people that apologize a lot. They're quick to say I'm sorry for the littlest things. And like to me, I've never dated somebody like that. So I don't know how that is. But to me, like it is off-putting, but at no point it's not off-putting because they make me feel bad. It's just I just think it's annoying to hear somebody apologize all the time. So like it's a little bit weird to me that there's this extra layer of her feeling bad about it. Whereas like I would just understand if she was just like, dude, you apologize too much and it's annoying. Like that, and that's it. Like but there's a little bit extra on it, which I don't understand.
She does reference that, like, I think she says, like, from the outside, it looked like she was really mean to him. So, like, it might be that they might have disagreements in front of other people, and he apologizes immediately, and it makes her look bad. And other people are like, oh, she must, like, really be mean to him that he's so quick to apologize all the time. I think that might have also played a part in it.
Okay. That does make sense. It's kind of a weird, like, this is the reason I broke up with you kind of thing. Like, I don't know, maybe Wonbin couldn't change that about himself.
I think they just did not have the communication skills to, like, address it.
I guess they were just too young. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's not that hard to be like, hey, when you apologize to me, people think that I'm like, like
I'm an asshole.
Like I'm like abusing you. Like you actually never need to apologize to me. It's fine. But sometimes like probably Wonbin, she does want to apologize. So that's where it gets kind of like a gray area where like what is too much, what isn't too much. And then at that point, you just might as well break up.
Yeah, I think they were just too young to be able to talk through that stuff. And then remember, like after they broke up, a bunch of his friends came to him and was like, oh, she went out on a date with somebody. So imagine them being like, she makes you apologize. Like, why are you apologizing so much? She must be really mean to you. Like, if that's the kind of friends he has,
Oh, you think it's like Wonbin's friends are somehow telling Jisoo that she's being mean to him?
Well, I mean, just given the dynamic we've sort of seen of like, they're telling him that she went on dates and being judgy about it or whatever, like, there's a possibility that might have played in like, they're witnessing this and she's worried about what they think about her. And, it just seems a little messy and they were too young. And it didn't work out.
It seemed like the whole Jisoo Wonbin circle of friends might be a little too involved in each other's lives. Then I would appreciate it, at least. A little too much for me. All right. Wonbin does say that he still might just pick her in the end, though, right? Like he kind of just sets it up like because he says I still might pick you in the end. You're the most inspirational out of all the girls. So like Wonbin is not trying to get back together, right? Like he's
I thought when he said this he was saying like that's how he had been feeling, is that he was gonna pick her anyway, but I don't know.
Oh, he's not saying it. He didn't say it like 100% right now. I'm still picking you.
Yeah, I thought it was past.
It was like a past tense. Oh, okay. But what's weird is that like he says this thing about her, like she's still the most inspirational of all the girls, and then it like cuts to Jisoo and confessional, or no, he asks her like straight up. She asks him straight up like, "Why do you think that?" Because like, but she's saying it because like she's so down on herself because of this whole experience on this show, and this like to me this is another reason why this show's just a little bit too much. Like she's so down on herself that she literally can't come up with like a single reason why even the guy that wants to date her would he actually like her. Like that's, and I'm assuming this is, I can only see it as like there's more to this than what the show is showing us, in that like of course she's gonna feel bad because none of the guys are choosing her. That's something else, but I feel like it's even more than that, where like whatever the dynamic is between her and the rest of the girls, like she's oftentimes isolated
Yeah.
in a room by herself. And I
Mhm.
don't know. This seems like this whole experience for Jisoo was, I mean,
A bad one.
Wonbin had a rough time too, but like I think Jisoo had by far the worst experience on this show with
Yeah.
with her
Yeah,
mental
definitely.
state in this moment being like, I
Mhm.
literally don't understand why anybody would like me. It's
Yeah.
like kind of actually
It's very sad.
super sad. Like it's like I feel way worse about this than I do any of like the ex couples that I don't like getting back together. Like this, I feel so bad for Jisoo on this show. Yeah.
Yeah. But they do spend a while like comforting each other and complimenting each other, and so hopefully that helps build her back up a little bit at the end. I don't know.
Yeah, he's way cooler about everything this time. I still think he wasn't like he isn't not trying to get back together with her, but he's just cooler about it this time. So
Okay.
doesn't seem as honestly what he did last time like wasn't that bad either. He just like was like thrown off by her perspective on the situation and couldn't handle it. But he wasn't like doing anything. Like wanting to get back together with Jisoo is not ultimately like a terrible thing. It's just
Yeah, they were just not on the same page. Where
he
he was really into reminiscing about the past, and she
Yeah.
did not want to be reminded of it at all because she does not view that time as a good time for her. You know.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable to watch, but like nobody was really like terrible in the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. They compliment each other. Wonbin's gonna tear up actually by getting compliments from her. I think is what had happened.
Yeah.
I wrote they might pick each other in the end. We'll see. I mean, what else they?
She's not gonna pick him. She is not gonna pick him.
Okay.
She's gonna throw away pick human. Is my
Throwaway pick.
my guess. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they go to a restaurant, but we never see it until they cut back to them and they're getting the text. Wonbin texts production if he can just choose not to go on a secret date. Jisoo chooses Guman.
Yes.
All right. How many of these we have left? One more? No. Yeah, one more. Okay, here we go.
One more X date and then secret date.
And then secret dates. Yeah. Okay. Naeun and Hyungyu. This is the one that I was actually most curious about coming into this. And they save it for last because I think they're just going to dump a lot of information here.
Yeah. Basically, we get that whole history of their relationship stuff that we got with everybody else when they revealed whose exes were who.
But this started out good in my prediction that this might happen because
Hyungyu was pretty funny.
Hyungyu has bought like all the snacks that he knows Naeun likes, and he's like pulling them out of like what looks like a magic endless supply of snacks. Like where are these snacks coming from? He has so many snacks.
Yeah, just one after another, hands them over to her, keeps picking them out, and she's just like, "Oh my god, snacks!"
Yeah. So like, yeah, we'll have to talk about where we actually what we actually think Hyungyu and Naeun think about each other at the end. Like we're gonna see what they say to each other, but I don't know if I believe that that's necessarily what they say. Because to me, again, this is kind of how I feel about Guman. Like, and we didn't get to see how they interacted really throughout an entire season of the show. Like we've only seen them talking a few times, and it just seemed like, oh, they're friends, like a friendly ex couple. But like to me, going out of his way to buy all these snacks is like a little extra.
Is it?
Like maybe he's the kind of person that would just do this for any of his friends. That's possible. But like I could see doing one snack and he remembers that she likes it. But like he bought like 4, 5, 6, I don't know, like multiple kinds of snacks for her to have options in the car ride, basically.
No, I totally I think so. I'm very Italian in that you express love with food in that culture, I guess. And that's like ingrained in me in a way where like even for friends, I'll be like, oh, well, I'll get them the thing they like. But what if they're not in the mood for that? Well, maybe I should get them this too. And just like the desire to over provide happens a lot. So like I don't know that means anything. Like for me, that's just like, yeah, of course I'm going to buy a bunch of things that the people I'm going with like.
Okay, yeah. It doesn't have to mean anything in this case. Like with Guman, it's like he was straight up being cold to her, like not engaging with her, and then now he's like making breakfast for her in the morning. That's like a huge change of character. This is like more like I haven't really seen how Hyungyu operates. Like he might just do this for anybody. You're right. So
yeah.
But go with my whole perspective that this could happen. I was like, all right. He's doing it. Maybe he's got some feelings we haven't seen yet.
We do get some photos and video of them on a trip to Japan.
Yeah.
Because they make some connection like, oh, this reminds us of the time we were in Japan. So I don't know. There was that.
Yeah. And then we see this past trip to Okinawa in Japan. And I wrote in my notes, like, Sarah, is this happening? Like, this is this is very similar to the Heian Gyumin ziplining montage in its presentation to us. Now, this is less out of nowhere because it's not the exact opposite of like what we've been seeing the whole season. It's more of like, this could just be like, we didn't really have a time to show this stuff yet on the show. There wasn't like an easy way to just show this on the show, and now we're getting towards the end, and we're just gonna dump it all right here. But it had similar vibes of like, all right, if they wanted to switch up the narrative here, like maybe they're doing it.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting together.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna spend enough time with each other on the show for it to come back around to them being together. Yeah. It's too close to the end. But I don't think like their relationship is like unfixable. There's actually like a piece of information missing from their relationship that we don't get, and I'm curious what that is when we get to it.
Yeah.
I wrote my notes. Maybe this could be the 4th X couple match. If Wanbin and Jisoo also pick each other, this will be the 4th one. So we won't get 5. We could get 4. 4 is still in play in my mind right now in this moment.
It's only gonna be Nayeon and Hidu who get back together.
Oh, that is a bold prediction.
What? That is only gonna be those two?
It's only gonna be those two
that get back together, not the couple up. I still have thoughts about other people coupling up. But
I think that's bold. And then they drive to some sort of like trailer home picnic area.
Yeah, it's like an RV by the water where they can have a little cookout. Like,
did production put that RV there? Is that RV always there?
I feel like
anybody to use it?
Not for anybody. It's probably like an Airbnb type thing, you know?
Oh,
or whatever the Korean version of that is.
Okay, so you just like stick you an RV out by the ocean, and then you can like rent it out to people.
Yeah,
for an afternoon. Okay, never thought about doing that. Okay. There was a weird moment where like Heian, this is just like funny to me. Heian is like, not Heian. Who are we talking about here? Naeun. Naeun is like Naeun is like cooking the food or whatever that they're preparing, and then Kyungyu decides to take a picture, or Naeun tells him to take a picture.
He takes approximately 6 million pictures.
Yeah, like, but what's weird about it is like, I guess I couldn't really see how fast his thumb was moving because it was kind of, they showed it far away, but like the show is like playing the camera noise of taking a picture over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like as of like literally he took hundreds of pictures of this one moment at a time. And like I'm not a picture taker, so
I think there are definitely people who take pictures like that. Yeah. Whereas like you take a whole bunch and you get 2 out of it that you like, you know, you throw the rest away then.
That's crazy to me. I don't got time for that shit. I don't even want to take one picture, but like if somebody made me take a picture, like I might do 2. If like I take one and I'm like, that could be better, I'll take a second one, and then after the second one, it's like, well, maybe this is just a bad photo opportunity. If both of them are bad, we're not gonna fix it.
I feel like this is something they have done before in the past, where he takes pictures of her, she takes pictures of him. That way they take pictures for each other, and this is the method in which they do it. I think it is a totally normal thing.
The dynamic seemed to be like, she was like, take a picture of me, right? I don't know how excited about it he was, but
I mean, he was just like, yeah, this is what we do. You need a picture taken? I got you.
Yeah. So here's my perspective on this, how the dynamic of the rest of this day is going to go. And it's not a perfect 1-to-1, of course, but we get a little bit of like a Hidu Nayeon dynamic with these two.
Really?
For the rest of that's how I felt.
I feel like this is almost like a Jisoo Wanbin in the future dynamic rather than a Hidu Nayeon.
So to me, it's my initial thought was like Naeun is like Hidu and Hyungyu is like Nayeon. But then Hyungyu kind of went towards being more like a Wanbin later in the conversation.
Okay.
So it became like a Hidu Wanbin dynamic.
Wait, what is this Hidu behavior we're talking about?
Well, so the first thing that happened, and again, this is a singular moment in time where, so I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to say like Naeun is a full-blown Hidu, but like the dynamic that happens here is like he opens a Coke and he spills it. He pulls a Nyan. He spills the Coke.
Yeah.
He's trying to like tell her like I got someone on the food or whatever, and then when she finally finds out he did it, like she seems to get actually a little frustrated with him that he spilled the Coke on the food.
I took it in a mostly jokey way, but also like it was a bowl of food, and did you see how much Coke she ended up dumping out of that bowl of food? Like he really spilled
But to me it doesn't matter.
I think the reaction was like she thought he just sprinkled a little on it, whereas like he accidentally dumped a whole fuck ton into this bowl. And it was the surprise of that change from her expectation that prompted the reaction.
I read it as actual frustration in like a little bit of like, I can't believe you moment. But okay, whatever. It's again, it's just one moment in time.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. He just doing this constantly. I'm just.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is just what this moment was.
Okay.
Because again, no matter what, Hyungyu didn't mean to do it. So he doesn't, if any amount of like, why would you do this, you idiot, is in the tone of it, it's not warranted. It's like he doesn't do it on purpose.
Yeah, that's I don't think. Yeah, I felt like it was more just like, oh, I can't believe this happened. Right. Not like, I can't believe you did this. You know, it felt more innocent to me.
Yeah. Okay. I would say what I wrote down later was Naan. It felt like Naan kind of was like turning into Hyungyu's mom for a moment. Was kind of the vibe.
Okay.
And how she like cleaned it up and talked to him while she was cleaning it up. And I don't know. It was a little bit like a mom dynamic, which is kind of the dynamic with Hidu and Nyan as well, where it's like he's being fatherly. Yeah. All right, whatever. We find out, or at least it comes up that like Naan actually broke up with Hyungyu, but previously it was said that Hyungyu broke up with Naan. So I finally put it together that they like dated multiple times. They broke up multiple times.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
that. Yeah, they had broken up once in the middle and then once at the end. She was responsible for the end. He was responsible for the middle breakup.
Yeah, okay. All right. We can figure that out. Yeah, and then we get to see their cafe talk from the very beginning of the show, the pre-show. Mm-hmm. I appreciated Hyungyu in this moment when he walks in, he sits down, they say hi or whatever, and then Hyungyu immediately asks her, why did you invite me to be on the show? Which is like
it seemed fun.
Yeah, like her answer was whatever, but every single person it was not their idea to be on the show. Like that should be the first question.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, we haven't gotten Han asking that question, which is like the real question I want to know. Yeah, it seemed like it'd be fun. Mm-hmm. I believe her. Why not? And then they go deeper into like the pre-show interviews with production where they're not together.
Yeah, and it seems like the reason he came on the show is because he wanted to see her so he could apologize for the way things were between them.
Oh, real Wanbin. Here we go.
But he does not want to get back together. Is 100% what he says in the pre-interview stuff.
He does not want to get back together.
He does not want to get back together.
Yeah. I mean, these pre-interviews, I want to get back together. I don't want to get back together.
Yeah, they've not proven to be accurate in other cases.
Nothing. Yeah. So, but I wrote down a little bit of their history. I didn't write all of it down because a little late in the game to be getting backstory. But yeah, so he broke up with her the first time because he wasn't doing well on the CSAT or the CSAT, basically like the SATs of Korea, for getting into university. And he was.
I will say, context-wise, like, yes, they are kind of like the SAT, but like the level of seriousness and how fucking stressed people get, I feel like is way higher in Korea than.
Oh, you think so?
Because I think you can only take it once a year. Like you can take the SAT like multiple times a season or whatever. Whereas like you can only take the CSAT once a year, and it is like it sounds like it is the majority of how you get into school or not. Like whereas in America the SATs contribute, but there's also your whole GPA and all your other stuff that also are a contributing factor. Whereas I feel that this particular test in Korea is a bigger percentage of what determines what schools you can get into.
Okay. I'm not sure how it compares because I mean SATs in the US are like, if you want to get into certain schools that are considered to be prestigious or whatever, they have like a benchmark of like minimum SAT score that you need to get to even be considered, I believe. So people that are aiming for prestigious schools in the US do heavily stress out about SATs in the US. Like I know people like that. But I guess you're saying that it's just more common for everybody to stress out. Anybody going to school is stressing about it. I don't know. I don't know.
Let's put it this way: when I was in college, my freshman roommate, she was from Korea, and she told me that if you're a senior year student on a subway, like grandmas will give you their seat because they're like, you are going through the roughest time. Please sit down, child, and take a rest. Like,
okay,
it is a different level of stress.
Okay, interesting. All right, yeah, the once a year is rough. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, he was struggling on his CSAT tests or whatever,
and he was also aiming for one of the top schools because both of his parents had gone there. So,
and he started to feel like he didn't deserve her anymore, or he thought she was hiding her disappointment in him. So then he just decided that he would let her go. Is at least the logic that he's telling us. Yeah. Doesn't really make any sense.
But instead of saying any of that, he told her he didn't love her anymore.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure we never get why she broke up with him when she ended it at the end.
That is what's missing. That, yeah, okay. like ultimately, like it seems like she never stopped loving him because of his failures with whatever tests he was taking. But he decided that because of how much emphasis he's putting on that test, that how could anybody ever love him if he doesn't do well on this test? So he just like broke up with her to like, I don't know. He thought he was like doing her a favor by breaking up with her. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's really kind of weird. But we never get like if that was their dynamic of why they broke up, there's no reason why they can't get back together, right?
Yeah, but I also don't think they've shown us anything that shows them really having a desire to get back together. Like, they both seem really chill with where they are right now.
Yeah, the piece that's missing though for me is why did Na-eun break up with Hyungyu the second time, and we're not being told that. Yeah, that's a little weird. Yeah, we find out Hyungyu, after Na-eun broke up with Hyungyu the second time, Hyungyu continued to message Na-eun a lot after they broke up. And then, I don't know, they are talking about whatever. I don't know what actually triggered this, but Na-eun decides to pick a fight with Hyungyu for no reason is what happens, right? And she like admits it later in the confessional that that's basically what happened. I don't even know what he said. So again, this was a little bit of a Hidu moment where it's like, why are we fighting?
Okay.
Yeah, and my reaction in this moment was like, this is getting a little too much. Like I'm not enjoying what's this change. Like some of these changes were like, okay, maybe you two are better off with each other than I originally thought. And then this is like, this was the cool couple that was supposed to understand each other and not be messy. And then now this is getting, I was like, oh no.
Got a little messy. It didn't last
no, stop.
Too long.
I hope this stops. I didn't need to see this. Why did I want to see this date? All right.
They do like talk about, like, he gets to do his apology that he said he wanted to do in the pre-show stuff and find out if she regrets having ever met him. And she says no, and then they cry in the RV together for a while, and that's the rest of the date. You're
missing some interesting things that were said here. So
okay.
For some reason, again, I don't know why Na-eun broke up with Hyungyu, but she says to him, and I'm assuming she said this before to him, like she hated him so much that she wanted to hurt him at one point. I'm so curious why. What happened?
That's exactly why we're not finding out about the final reason for their breakup.
Is it actually something like so scandalous that they don't want to talk about it? Like
maybe
what? Like he like straight up cheated on her? Like what?
Like
what
maybe.
I don't know. Okay, whatever. Seems weird that we're not getting this piece of information to me.
Well, okay, the show wants, because I'm still aiming for this weird fairy tale ending that I think is going to happen, wants, Hyungyu to come in and save our damsel in distress Haeun, and if he's got a secret past of cheating on his ex or whatever, they're not going to want to show that.
No one's rooting for that.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to root for that.
All right, that makes sense.
So that's why they're not going to tell us.
Okay.
Not saying it's that, but if that was part of their past, they're not going to tell us that.
Yeah. the "I wanted to hurt you" part seems like a little
I
more
think they're
intense
pretty
than
bad.
anybody else has been the whole season about their breakups.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. They just seem like two totally different people in this conversation where like Naeun just kind of went a little he-do, and then by the end of it, Hyungyu was very Wonbin like passive, and he was very apologetic about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got to the point where he was like so apologetic that she started reading it as like like I guess yeah, she kind of went Jisoo a little bit towards the end. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because Hyungyu got to the point where he asked her if she regrets ever meeting him at all, and then she says like no, of course not. But she like it makes her tear up because she realizes that if he needs to ask me this question, like he must really be hurting if he thinks
Yeah.
that like I wish I never met him. And she starts tearing up, and then she like goes in the trailer, right? And because yeah, she actually has to step away, and then it seems like he follows her fairly quickly, maybe not
Pretty
instantly,
quickly, yeah.
And then and this is why I don't really fully understand the dynamic of them. Like they clearly care about each other still, so I feel like he couldn't have done something that terrible, you know. And now because he's crying, he feels bad for hurting her and making her cry.
Yeah.
And now he starts to cry also.
Yeah, a lot of crying.
Naeun, I mean, we got a lot of Haeun. I feel like Haeun's like she's done so much crying on the show with Han, but ultimately, like I don't really like Haeun's cry. Like I don't like watching it.
There's something about her face when she cries. It's just too much.
I think Naeun has like a good reality TV
cry.
show cry. She gets pretty loud and like Haeun just like almost like a comical looking like sad face with her like bottom lip sticked out, and then tears just start running, and she's like pretty quiet. But Naeun's like, if Naeun's crying, like the whole house is gonna hear her crying. Like she's so loud.
It's like when she regretted picking Yumin for that one date, and she was just like throwing herself back on the couch and just yelling like how upset she was.
Yeah.
She's gonna let people know how she feels.
Yeah. So they clearly both care about each other enough that they're crying about each other, which again, I was still watching this from the perspective of like, could this be a thing? And like they're saying to each other in this conversation like that they don't want to get back together with each other. But I wasn't really buying it because of all the extra stuff. So I don't know. I could see a scenario where like if they were on the show kept going, and then Guman and Haeun like really became established, and it was like, I'm just being stupid. Like continue to pick Haeun, and then now it's like, what do I do? You would think not would be too far down the line with Tae, that she wouldn't.
Yeah.
And Tae's not going anywhere. But I'm still picking up on this not and isn't like super like life-changingly excited about Tae. You know, it's like it's just he's the guy that I chose, and there's no he's solid. He's solid. We like Tae. We get it.
Sometimes though, you don't want to go after the big wow factor. You want to go on the thing that seems realistic and solid. That's a reasonable choice to make.
Naeun doesn't give me. I'm not getting vibes from Naeun that she is that kind of person, but she could be like one day. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Why? I guess they're just crying from guilt. Like they're not crying.
They have an emotionally fraught history together, and they probably haven't had a chance to like talk to each other about it in this sort of way before, and just is stirring up old feelings of guilt or anger in some cases or whatever, and they're just having a bit of a cry. Sometimes you just need to.
All right. I'm still curious exactly specifically why they're crying, but I guess it's hard. We don't know for sure. All right. Yeah. My final conclusion I wrote is it feels like they both really care about each other and are just terrible at communicating their feelings. Which ultimately is a sign that maybe they shouldn't be together. But
well, they were together when they were pretty young.
Yeah.
Which is probably also contributes to the not really
even now
great about communicating their feelings.
They're still young. I mean,
yeah, but they were extra
really
young
yeah.
then.
Yeah. But even now it doesn't feel like they're being totally honest. Like the way they're kind of saying it to each other is like, oh yeah, I totally don't want to get back together with you. Like the way that people have said it in the past in the show, where it's like, oh,
Mm.
you said that, but here we are now.
I don't know. I find them very believable when they say like, yeah, we're good friends now, not getting back
Oh,
together.
okay. All right. All right. And then they get the text, right?
Yes.
Hyungyu chooses Haeun. Na-eun chooses Tae. Then Na-eun gets a text. But this is the only one we see where Na-eun actually gets a text that she has to leave.
Yes.
And then Hyungyu doesn't get one, but then ultimately he's going to meet with Haeun.
Yeah, he gets it later. Yeah,
I don't know. It was a little weird how the show decided to.
Well, I had to
have the
wait
people leave.
for Haeun and Gumin to stop crying so they could finally send their text responses in. So it makes sense that Hyungyu had to stick around for a little longer before he could go to his secret date.
Yeah, it just feels like the show they showed one person leaving from every date. Maybe not Jisoo and Wonbin, but they showed like one person leaving from every date as if like
only that person
they tried to make it look like, oh, this person is awkwardly leaving, but like it's the show's fault that it's awkward. It's like I don't know, whatever.
Logistics.
All right, it's secret date time. Nothing but dates.
Oh yeah.
Tae and Na-eun.
All right. Yeah.
All right, it's a night restaurant, and they're alone. They're the only ones there, besides the one worker. But yeah,
yeah. The lady is explaining all the different wines to Na-eun, and Tae is just staring at Na-eun and smiling to himself, and just like it's so cute. And then she suddenly like asks for his opinion on all the wines that they've been talking about, and he has not been paying attention at all.
Yeah,
and it's adorable.
Like this, looking at her was definitely cute compared to like Haeun's staring at Gumin as he drives. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's like kind of you could see it either way, but yeah, different dynamic. Yeah, they're super cute, funny as always.
Mm-hmm.
I had this perspective that I didn't think about before as I was watching this, and I think ultimately why, or I don't know, I think when I watch a dating show, now that I've watched this show and compared it to the other ones that we've watched, like ultimately new relationships are just more fun to watch for me because there isn't a like pre-existing dynamic that is going to like exist between two people where like they might have reasons to like be shitty to each other. You know what I mean? Like all the new dating shows, it's like everybody's incentivized to like put their best foot forward and like make every interaction a good one. And still in that dynamic, drama happens that can be shown on the show.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm not enjoying this, the X aspect, I think, of this show is where a lot of my frustrations with people and my views of people on the show are almost directly correlated to how they choose to treat their ex on the show, right?
Yeah.
So like theoretically, like if I knew nothing about any of these people and they just showed up on a different dating show, I probably wouldn't have like any huge negative feelings about them at all, you know?
Okay.
Because they would just be trying to like actually successfully flirt with people. And like some people's bad sides come out in those shows, but not nearly as much on this show.
I think it's not just the fact that they're exes, it is the fact that the show has sort of promoted a not great environment for it, like by holding off and not letting them talk to each other for so long and orchestrating every way that they could film Haeun cry. Like the whole X room thing, like it just they've not created a safe environment for non-toxic behavior. They've really like done what they can to make it more explosive or dramatic or whatever. And also some of it is they casted Hee-joo and Na-eun and they're gonna always be a big fucking mess. But I think like with Na-eun and Hyungyu, like if they went on more dates and the show was longer, they would have similar like cute nice dates that wouldn't be really like they had their one date where they had to talk about the past, and I think going forward they would be able to have sufficiently cute interactions if they were trying to date again, you know? Like I don't think it's just the X thing. I think it is the particular exes we have now, and that the show is not exactly fostering a great environment for people being nice and cute to each other.
I think Na-eun and Hyungyu would only have the potential to look uglier the longer they were on the show together.
Really? Why?
Based on like okay, maybe they wouldn't, but there's a reason that they were added so late to the show because the production knew that they were the least explosive ex couple.
Yeah,
right?
that would mean they are the least explosive. So they are like we would get good, cute content out of them.
But even with that, the one date that they forced them to go on, I had to watch this like negative interaction between them, which you would not get on a all new
Well,
people
yeah,
show, dating show. That's
but
what,
I think
that's all I'm
like
saying.
that's
Like,
a one-time interaction for them. Like they had to talk about the past and move on past it. You know, like I don't think that they're gonna have that over and over again if they continue to date on a show like this.
and that's fine. My point is, I would prefer to never have to see these negative interactions between pre-existing relationships. I'd prefer these shows that are all new and people are incentivized to be positive and not have a beef with anybody going into it. I
just also want to put the blame on production a bit for creating the environment and like these situations to bring out the worst in people. You know, like that is the show has accomplished what it had tried to accomplish, right? Like,
yeah. Let's talk about production at the end.
Yeah.
Let's talk about production at the end after we make predictions. Because I think I was a little uncertain through this whole season. Like, do they know what they're doing? I mean, they know what they're doing in terms of like they're trying to make a mess, but like, did they know what they're doing in terms of who they chose to be the game changers and why? Like, I think single decision was calculated and they kind of knew what was going to happen. And based on my predictions for what's going to happen, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that it's going to work out the way I think it is.
Okay.
And how production the order in which production chose to incorporate them into the show.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to talk about the movie Zootopia, Tay and Naon. Right.
He says she looks like Judy, the rabbit main character from Zootopia.
Yeah, I didn't see that. But then they're going to talk about Flash the Sloth, which is like probably
he does an impression that takes so long.
Yeah, he does an impression of Flash the Sloth. Probably the funniest or most memorable moment from the Zootopia movies. And then Naan's going to say, "Wow, you actually look like Flash from Zootopia." And then I was like, "Yo, he does kind of look like Flash though." And then I looked up the picture of Flash to confirm, and like, yeah, it's like something about his hair. Like if you look it up, like a Flash from Zootopia.
Let me look it up. I didn't look it up.
And then you can like see Tay's hair if you look at it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That shit was funny. I didn't really get the Judy thing, but yeah, Nan thinks Tay is the most fun and has the most depth. That's a good compliment to hear.
Yeah.
You have most depth because it's so true, right? Like,
yup.
Compared to the other guys in the show, Tay definitely has the most depth, right? Like,
yeah. Yep.
He's willing. He understands what red flags are and what they mean. Right? It's a little bit of depth, yes, at least. Okay. They joke about how late they should stay out together since it's the last night.
Yeah, because they like don't have any time limit or something on their date. They can stay out however late they want.
Yeah, it's not like production like specifically wrote something in one of their texts to like emphasize like you can stay out as long as you want tonight.
Yeah.
The last night, like encouraging them to do it. Yeah. All right. Okay. This story, it's making me happy. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this. You know, ultimately, like the things that kind of turn me off about Naon actually have no effect on her relationship with Tae. So it's not like Tae is missing. I don't think Tae is like missing any big red flags with Naon that would actually affect their relationship. Now they like it's not like they're some sort of fairy tale story that it's gonna work out. Like I still think Naon isn't like she likes Tae because Tae is likable, but she's not head over heels about him.
I think she'll at least go on another date with him after the show, though.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, for sure. I would hope so. Otherwise, I mean, if these two don't date each other after the show, what are we?
Yeah, well,
some of the exes are gonna date each other probably for a while after the show.
Yeah, but I don't want that.
In terms of new relationships, like this is the only new relationship I think we're gonna get. So everything else will be ex relationships. So
I disagree, but sure.
Yeah, this is the one I like. This is the one I like.
Yeah. This is a good one.
It's two new people who got through their exes. Maybe there's something powerful about that. If somehow you can not end it back with your ex and then also match with a new person, maybe that means something more than if you go on a show and your ex isn't there and you match with somebody. I don't know. Maybe there's something to that.
I guess, sure, why not?
If you walk through hell together and survive, then you'll be better off than if you hadn't. I don't know.
I don't know about better off, but
you have to survive.
It's
you have to
something.
you have to survive.
Okay. Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah. And then they both fall asleep on the car ride home, which was
not just that. They like get in the backseat of this car, and she goes, "You look tired." And he's like, "No, I'm not tired at all." Smash cut to both like sprawled out in the backseat, passed out. Unfortunately, nobody's leaning on anybody or anything cute like that.
They were just sitting too far apart.
Yeah.
Nope. Nobody wanted to sit back middle. That was the problem.
That's true.
That's the spot in the car. Yeah. All right. That's one of the secret dates.
Successful secret date.
All right. We're gonna get 4 of these.
Yes.
Youngyu and Haeun.
Yes. They go to a restaurant by the sea, and as soon as she shows up, he like asks her if she had a good time and if she cried today, and she says no, like a liar.
Yeah. This is what you're rooting for, Sarah? These two?
Yeah. That's what I'm rooting for.
You're rooting for these.
I mean, ultimately, like
to
top
his face about what's going on.
Top tier. Okay, top tier rooting for is Tae and Nan. Okay, obviously, yes.
Okay, I think we're good on that. Yeah.
The next thing I am rooting for is Nayeon and Heedu to never see each other ever again.
That's never gonna happen. Okay.
Then I'm rooting for Haeun and Hyungyu just so she moves on in life and never cries over Gyumin ever again.
I guess if you're, I don't know. I'm trying to think of it like, okay, if I didn't hate Haeun, how would I feel? Like,
yeah.
I guess the listeners would have to let us know. Like, were people rooting for Haeun? Like, you're not rooting for her to get back with Gyumin, but I feel like you're supposed to be. I don't know.
I guess you are. I'm rooting for her to be happy. Just this is the version of happiness I think is obtainable.
Like, I'm not emotionally invested in Haeun to the point that I'm having emotional reactions. But if I'm choosing between Haeun and Hyungyu and Haeun and Gyumin, I'm rooting for Haeun and Gyumin at this point.
But why though?
But like, how can I root for Haeun when she's just straight up lying to Hyungyu's face for a lot of this?
Well, okay, there is something to be said for like how many times you gonna show up to a date and be like, "Yep, I was just crying with my ex." Like that's, I don't know. You want to. She's faking it till she makes it in the happiness terms. I think, you know. I don't like. I did say yeah. She said no like a liar, but that's just because it's a funny thing to say. I get why she didn't want to be like, "Yep, was just crying some more."
And she says she would have chosen him if Gyumin was an option for the secret date. That's got to be a lie. She was literally just crying about how they wanted the date to keep going. So there's two lies at the very start of this date. I don't think there's any reason to root for this.
Because I think if they had met on, like if they had just gone on a normal dating show and Gyumin wasn't around, I think they would have gotten along well and it would be cute.
I don't think
it's just the fact that they're in this weird situation has made everything awful.
I think the weird situation is the reason Haeun is even dating Hyungyu, because I don't think Hyungyu, like if Haeun was on a show by herself and she from the beginning she was on the show and she got to make her own decisions without there being pre-existing relationships between the people in the house. I don't think Haeun's choosing the guy that's 2 years younger than her. Now maybe that information would be secret and she would date him and then whatever happens after that.
Yeah.
But this, even from the beginning, I have felt like this is Haeun's one other option in the show and she's going along with it and Hyungyu's like really into it for some reason, and then there's going to be a funny conversation later which is I think a fair perspective that Haeun is going to have on what Hyungyu is doing on the show. But I don't know, I don't really see this as I don't.
She had an opportunity to fake it with Wonbin if she was just trying to look for somebody to like leave the show with, and she did not pursue that.
But it was different stages, right? Like, let's say Wonbin was the last guy to be on the show, and Hyungyu existed on the show when Haeun first came in and had her big reactions to whatever was going on with Gyumin. Like, I don't think she was ready to date anybody besides Gyumin in that moment. You could be right. Like, I'm just speculating. Like, you could be right. Like, maybe she has zero interest in Wonbin, Wonbin's also younger than her, right? But like zero interest in Wonbin and like a slight interest in Hyungyu, and that's why she's doing it. She's
I think Hyungyu does legitimately like cause her to have a good time on dates. Like, she seems to be naturally smiling, naturally having fun, enjoying that time, and finally outside of her own head about Guman. Like, it is a different reaction she has when she's on those dates versus when she did go on, a Wanbin date.
Yeah. I remember thinking she was pretty smiley with like Edu on their first date, or I don't know. I don't think she was like super depressing with other people. Like she was, I don't know, whatever. Agree to disagree.
I think it is different with Hyungyu.
Either way, we're starting this date off with straight up line to his face twice. Hyungyu admits it made him sad to see her talking to Guman last night.
Look at all this like open and honest communication he's coming up with. I like that. That's great.
I mean, like, from Hyungyu's perspective, I'm fine, but like, okay. I'm not rooting for this guy to end up with Haeyeon. Like that, I can't root for that.
Okay.
And then they rehash the Truth or Dare game. It doesn't really matter because like Hyungyu's not going anywhere. Like he doesn't have another route in the show. Like I thought the other route could have been not on, but like the fact that date didn't go well, there's just not enough time for him to switch.
There is always the self-respecting I choose myself route.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Nobody ever picks that. Except for Wanbin. Wanbin's a boss. There we go.
He tried, yeah. Yeah, this is where we find out Han only asked Guman questions the whole game, and Hyungyu was very aware of that.
And it's weird he keeps like saying like, I get it why you did it. I mean, I'm sad about it, but also it was super attractive that you were being very honest. I'm like, these are some weird mixed messages we're getting, but okay.
Like he's just spinning it to make it work.
Yeah.
But it's because it's the only thing he has to do on the show, right? Whatever. Yeah. This is where I thought this is great. Haeyeon suspected, she says this to his face, Haeyeon suspected that the producers told Hyungyu to date her because they felt bad for her.
Joke's on her. I'm pretty sure the producers have just been trying to make her cry the entire season.
Nope. I wrote, this is a fair theory. That's why he only knew her name when they were on the couch, is because like he pre-talked to production about Haeyeon, and then he wasn't able to remember anybody else's name, and then he was so adamant about dating Haeyeon based on looks alone or whatever it was.
Well, I mean, okay, what else are you gonna base it on? You've known these people for 10 minutes. You're gonna go for the hot one. And of course, when you walk into a room and everybody introduces themselves, the name you're going to remember is the hot one. I think that's totally
but Haeyeon doesn't have to be the hot one. Like, if anything, it seems like, I mean, he can think whoever he wants is hot, but like, statistically, it seems like it should be Nayeon based on how people have behaved on the show.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a moment of time of how they looked in that moment, so whatever.
And also, like, people have different tastes, and,
Yeah, of course.
I'm choosing to believe it was a natural situation.
The reason I'm choosing to at least pretend to believe this theory is because I've been harping on how Hyungyu is like this person that like just sees the girl he likes for their appearance and then decides their personality based on whatever he thinks his ideal girlfriend is. But like it would make a little bit of sense if it was like, oh, he's like just doing a solid for production and he can't come up with actual good reasons. So like that's why he's BSing it a little bit, is because he doesn't actually have legitimate reasons behind his thoughts.
Okay, that was a fair theory. I just don't think the producers want to make her happy. Like they made the entire season about watching her cry, so it doesn't make sense to me that they turn it around now.
They ultimately are going to make the entire season about Han because they're able to create a story where Han has a choice in the end. Yeah. It's also why Hedo is a heavily part of the show, because the show has decided to make Hedo, and it could just be the best way to edit the show based on what happened, but Hedo and Haeyeon are the two big decisions at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And that's why they're, despite me at least not liking either of them, they are the main characters of the show.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, he makes it super clear to her that he's going to pick her. There's nothing that can change him at this point, which makes sense.
Yep.
And then, I don't know what you thought about this. I feel like Hyungyu takes a somewhat, I wrote like dark approach by saying like, when you break up with someone, you like don't love them anymore. right? Doesn't he say something like that?
Yeah.
As a way
Yeah,
to
or,
like,
well, he is trying to console her because she's talking about her breakup with Guman, and she's like, I should have been this. I should have been more that. And he's just like, no, that's just where you were at that time. Like, it's not your fault. People break up because they don't love each other anymore. Like, I don't know that it was that. He was trying to console her.
but also he knows none of the specifics of the relationship and does not know if Han was at fault or was not at fault. But he's just saying, like, he's being supportive of something he doesn't actually know what the situation was. But like,
Yeah.
but he's saying this like he's trying to pitch this idea that like when you break up with someone, like you don't love that person anymore, as a way to like convince her, like either.
Oh yeah, he's trying to get her to pivot and give up on Guman.
Yeah, he's like he's trying to say like either Guman doesn't love you, and also maybe he's trying to be like, yeah, you don't love Guman anymore, right? Because you guys broke up. Meanwhile, he was just crying with his ex hours ago because they cared about each other so much that they were worried about hurting each other. Like, it doesn't actually, it's so weird to me that he's using this argument.
People are big balls of contradiction.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, okay. Han goes to the other side of the table. I think he invites her over, and
yeah, he calls her over.
Yeah.
And then the next shot we get is her hand on the side of his face and his hand over top of her hand and just like chilling. I imagine it was her hands are cold and his face is hot or whatever is how it started, but it just like they got real close, being cute again. But he also seems pretty drunk at this point.
Yeah, I was thinking this was another drunk situation.
She is not.
You don't think
presenting
she is?
as that drunk?
Okay,
but he is presenting drunker.
Okay. Honestly, I would be 100% locked in hands picking Guman. There was just that weird moment in time after she talked to him last night where for some reason they had video footage of her saying that she thought that was meant that Guman was over her, which doesn't make any sense. So now there's like a bit of a gray area where if that never happened, like if she took that conversation was like, that was a great conversation with Guman, blah, 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 I would just be like 100% she's picking Guman. And then this would be a little weird to me that she's doing more of this like stuff. But I actually am more inclined to believe that she's more 50-50 now than she ever was, even though it doesn't make sense. Like, if anything, she should be more picking Guman now to me, but I actually believe that she's more 50-50 now.
Yeah, you would think given the day they had together and the crying they did whilst leaving, that she would be more prepared to pick Guman. But like while she's here with Youngyu, she says stuff like, it just really felt like it was destiny that he showed up when he did. Like she says these things that make it sound like she is feeling things in this direction, like it is legitimate what is happening here and not just, well, you're interested in me, so I'll go on some dates with you while I pine over my ex. Like it feels kind of legit.
Yeah. I'm not saying they don't have I'm not trying to say like they don't have feelings for each other. I'm just not rooting for whatever it is that's going on there.
Okay.
Like I'd prefer to root for Guman and Han than this is how I feel. I wrote Han is picking Guman, right? after this interaction.
Yeah, I'm still gonna hope that she picks Hyungyu.
The other weird dynamic here, and Hyungyu's drunk, like you said, but like the way Hyungyu kind of acts at the very end of this date is like he's acting like he knows that she's gonna pick Guman, right?
Yeah.
So if he's feeling that way, I feel justified to feel that way as well.
But she also says, because he asked her, like, how was your time on the show been? And she's like, I've had such a wide range of feelings. I felt the worst and I felt the best. And she doesn't say that her best is with him, but she's like, oh, I don't have to say it, when my best times were. Like,
but she also lied to his face at the very start of this date, so like she could be lying at any point, right?
I mean, that's true of anybody.
But like specifically, it would make sense. It seems like she would lie based on what she's already said.
Well, there's no, but like honestly, she doesn't even need to lie to him. He said however many times that he's going to pick her. She does not need to lie to him.
Yeah,
I think she's going to pick him.
I think she might actually feel undecided in this moment. Okay. So
yeah,
not everything she's saying is necessarily a lie, but definitely lying about some stuff. All right. Guman and Nyan?
Yes. We have a secret date in a weird glass dome in a garden or something.
I just wrote, oh, what another bummer for Jisoo this.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't match with Guman. There was like a glimmer of hope when Guman picked her, and then she was like, maybe she didn't have the idea to not pick anybody like Wonbin did, but
yeah, I don't think that she like thinks that there's a possibility with Guman. Really, it's more like they went on a friend date, right?
Yeah, at least by the time that we saw she does the confessionals that we've seen already, she's at least projecting like she knew what was was up, but I don't know. I still was like, because we weren't really sure. We figured Guman was going to match with somebody as long as he wanted to match with somebody, and the show was kind of like, oh, is it going to be Nyan or Jisoo? And yet another loss for Jisoo.
Yeah.
All right. Nyan says that Guman is the exact person she was looking to date after dating Hedo.
Yep.
She doesn't say the exact person she is looking to date.
Yep.
All right.
And I guess she went on some dates with him, so check that off the list. She's done. She can go back to Hedo now, I guess.
Yeah. They do this. I appreciated this scene. They do this comparison, this flashback comparison of Nyan driving with Hedo and Nyan driving with Guman, where Nyan is like helping with the GPS directions.
Yeah.
For both of them as they drive. And there's like a situation where Nyan is like, Hedo's like, where do I go next? She's like, turn left right here. And then Hedo is like, I don't know if he's confused or what it is, but he's like starts
being Hedo,
questioning her and acting like she's not good at directions, even though he ends up turning left anyway, and it seems like that was the right way to go. But basically like making her feel like she's bad at GPS directions. And then they go to Guman, and I didn't even know somebody could be this passionate about how good somebody was about GPS directions. Like Guman is like, Nyan, you are literally the greatest GPS navigator in the history of GPS navigators. Like, that's how good you are, and that's how much I appreciate driving with you by my side.
You know, if you were going to pick one of these two men to date, clearly you're going to pick Hedo, I guess.
Incredible. Good snatching the camera footage out by production. That was amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like he's making her feel like she's really good at something.
Appreciating her for what she does, complimenting her.
It's something for the last 4 years she thought she was really bad at because Hedo always told her she was really bad at it.
Yep. And yet she's gonna make the decision she's gonna make.
Yeah. I mean, Guman's gonna pick Hayan anyway, so.
Yeah, but how much of that, if that happens, is that because clearly Nyan is gonna pick Hedo anyway? Like 100% of it is. Like if he picks Hayan, it's 100% because
that's true.
Nyan became not an option.
Yeah, that is actually true. Yeah, who will Nyan choose now?
She's gonna make bad decisions.
Hedo, okay. Jiyoung and Hedo have a secret date.
Yes.
So on this date, like they actually have a cute conversation. This is where the edit on Hedo just like totally changes, I feel like. And I don't know if I should really give credit to Hedo in this moment, or it's because we're getting towards the end and they want us to feel better about Hedo.
Wait, was he cute? Because I still have like notes of being annoyed at him.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, I'll
like fuck off. Hedo is in my notes at some point.
Really? Okay.
The secret date.
I don't think he was perfect, but compared to his normal self, I feel like he actually gets better.
Okay, he spends a lot of this date giving her shit for picking Hyungyu that one time. Meanwhile, he's been picking Nyan for shit and is like, oh, well, you should just understand where I'm coming from. Like, the bro's a dick.
Okay, well, this is my interpretation.
Okay.
So it seemed like they were having cute conversation, like they were reminiscing about the show and their past dates on the show. They were both having a good time. It might be because Jiyoung's so good that she never actually seems at this, like Jiyoung has seemed upset with Hedo in the past when they talked, but she's pretty feeling good about this whole conversation.
Yeah.
But I feel like for the first time, Hidu actually tries to explain himself to her without gaslighting to make it seem like it's her fault. Like, I feel like that actually happened at some point in this conversation. And his logic, like, doesn't really make any sense. Like, I feel like he actively tries to explain, and he hasn't even, like, said this to Nayeon, and he dodged the question. Like, how do you feel about Nayeon? I feel like he actually is trying to explain how he feels about Nayeon to Jiyoung in this conversation, which is, like, the most genuine thing we've ever gotten from Hidu the whole season, because he hasn't been able to articulate this. And because he's at least attempting to do it, I'm, like, seeing... I was seeing, like, oh, he's genuinely confused about Nayeon.
Yeah.
And, like, because he's confused about Nayeon, I now, like, believe, like, he actually feels something about Jiyoung. Like, it's not just this, like, possessive thing where he needs her as the backup, you know?
Okay.
I don't know. He was just, I feel like he actually opened up for the first time ever about how he was feeling about the whole situation in a way that it didn't necessarily make sense to me. Like, I don't really get how he can be frustrated with Nayeon all the time
and want to spend more time with
her. It doesn't really make sense. But like, I can at least, since he tried to articulate it, I get that, like, okay, he's actually thinking about it, and he is in a state of confusion and uncertainty. And I finally just, like, appreciated some level of honesty and genuineness to what he was.
I will give you that. He opened up a bit and tried to explain himself. But he also followed that up with, like, well, you should just understand me. Like, and he convinced her, basically, where she says that she overreacted to him hanging out with Nayeon, and that, like, it was mean and selfish of her to express her emotions when they made him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then he still, like, gives her shit, like, well, you know, you didn't have to pick Hyungyu. Like, what's wrong with you? Why would you pick someone else? Like, it's still, like, yeah, he opened up a bit, but it's still surrounded by all this toxic shit that he says. Yeah, you know, like,
to me, there's a huge difference between the dynamic of this, though, where, like, once, because he started the conversation by trying to articulate his actual feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he began with.
Yeah.
But in the past, he just jumps right into this is how it's your fault, not my fault, right?
Yeah, but he still gets to the point where he's like, this is how it's your fault.
He gets to it, right? But because he opens up and is genuine and tries to actually have a real conversation, when he gets to that point of it, it comes across as, like, way more playful. And Jiyeon is not like frustrated with him. And I think she's taking it playfully by the time he gets around to it. And when he says, like, I think you can understand how I can feel that way, it's like, yeah, I can understand, because you actually tried to tell me this time. And it wasn't just like, I can't believe how stupid you are. Of course I have feelings that I'm not telling you or explaining to you or doing anything. You know what I mean? So I think like, he says that to her, and he's like, oh yeah, I can, like, now that you've actually tried to tell me a little bit, I do see where you're coming from now. It's totally different if you actually try. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just trying to give the guy, like, if he's taking a step in the right direction, I feel like it's worth talking about.
Yeah, okay. That is fair. I just feel like the step in the right direction I would appreciate first is getting rid of the gross behavior and then learning to open up. Whereas when he's opening up and still saying the gross things, then it's almost more insidious, because then he's, like, drawing her in with the, oh look, I can be vulnerable, but you know, still gonna be shitty at her, you know?
Yeah, I honestly, like, I see what you're saying, where he's saying similar things to what he was saying before, but, like, to me, the order in which he's saying it and the added stuff that he's saying it with totally changed the dynamic of what it is. And I think Jiyeon's response to it reflects that, unless there's some sort of alcohol influence going on here. Because we've seen him do this to Jiyoung in the past, and she sat there with a look of confusion on her face and was like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you know, and she's not doing that here.
Yeah, But he does like make her doubt herself, like her feelings. Like we're talking about Jian, this outspoken, doesn't give a shit about the rules, kind of just is who she is person. And now like she's diminishing herself. Like, yeah, I shouldn't have expressed how I was feeling about that because it made you uncomfortable. Like I shouldn't have expressed that I was upset that you were dating your ex. Like, I mean, yeah, they're on a show where you date your ex or whatever. But like the fact that she now is in this position where she's starting to like restrict what she should say because of Hidu's fucking feelings, that rubs me really the wrong way.
I mean, she still should get as far away from Hidu as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not suggesting.
Run.
I'm not suggesting that Hidu has turned a major page that's going to change anything for his immediate future, but
but hopefully,
it's
I
something.
guess. Yeah, I mean, I will root for him to be a better person. So, yeah,
it is something. And what I wonder though is like where I will maybe agree with you more when I say this is that am I supposed to believe that throughout the entire show Hidu has never had a moment where he like seemed like he took a reasonable approach to a conversation? And like could this conversation, I think it could based on how we're talking about it, they could have edited this conversation to make Hidu, like they could have taken out the part where he did attempt to talk about Nayeon and just jump right to the accusatory, or what makes it seem super accusatory part right away, right? So
trying to make him look better because he is one of the main characters, and this is it. This is all they had to work with. So they had to put it in.
But this, I think it's possible that this conversation is like closer to the way that Hidu goes about conversations than what we've been made to believe. And it's like it lowers the intensity of it a little bit for me. Ultimately, like he still does these things and it's still like ugly, and I would say if they asked for my advice, I would suggest that nobody date him on the show if they cared about my advice. But what's weird about it's like it feels like more in this scene like they just showed Hidu for what he was, and then potentially in the past they made him look worse for some reason. I don't know.
But like with Haeun, they edited out more of what you would consider her bad behavior because she's one of your main character big decision people. You would think he would get the same treatment.
That's true, yeah. Like why did they want us?
Unless they don't think he's a bad guy. I don't know if they're like, this is acceptable behavior. This is how you treat people. I hope that's not what the producers feel.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. It's hard to tell because like whenever they cut the host about Hidu and Nayeon, I feel like
nobody is talking about how bad this is.
The hosts are the hosts are part of, they're not part of production, but ultimately they are part of production of the show. And like if they were talking about the ugliness of it, like the show could be editing that out. So I don't want to say they're not talking about it, but yeah, no one's having what appears to be like a hot take that we're having, that this is like super ugly and negative. And that like that's definitely not coming through on the show, but I'm not sure how it plays in the audience. Yeah. I mean, there was that person on Twitter that seemed to be ranting about how much they hated Nayeon, and it seemed
loved Hidu. Yeah.
I don't know if they loved Hidu, but they didn't blame Hidu for the situation.
They loved Hidu.
They loved Hidu? Oh, okay. I don't know.
Like, Hidu, why can't you see? She's no good for you. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And I wonder, I don't know.
All
right. Yeah. I would say Jian is still trying to get Hidu to pick her in this conversation, right?
Yes.
She gets to the point where maybe she would have said this either way, but she says like, and it seems genuine, like, I support the decision you make either way. Like, you got to do what's best for you, right? That she says that.
Mm-hmm. But he does he's like, even if the decision is, not you. And she's like, well, I do want you to choose me. Like,
yeah, it's playful though, right?
Completely said, well, yeah. But I mean, I feel like this might be another case of her stretching the rules a little bit, where you're not necessarily supposed to say who you're going to pick or
so many people
who you want to pick you.
So many people are broken that at this point.
But she is just like, no questions asked. Just, I want you to choose me. So we're all clear on this.
Yeah, Hidu is admitting that he is struggling on who he's choosing, and I believe him. Like I believe he's being genuine for once. Before I was just like convinced he's picking Nayeon because he like just wouldn't talk about it. He wouldn't talk about it with Nayeon. He wouldn't talk about it with Jian. He would just dodge it by putting blame on them for whatever situation their relationship was at the time. But yeah, he opened up here. And then they go to they seem like they hang out the longest, right? They go, oh no, they actually don't.
Well,
Gyumin,
yeah, they
Gyumin
don't.
and
No, it's Haeun and Hyungyu, I think, stay out the latest, right? Or no, it is Gyumin
it's
and
Gyumin
Nayeon.
and
You're
Nayeon,
right.
but we don't know where they went. I don't think.
They might have just been in that dome the whole time.
All right, yeah, but Hido and Ji Young are gonna go to the ocean to hang out. They're singing together.
They are fairly drunk.
Easily the best Hido content of the entire show is happening right now.
Yeah, that's her. I mean, a low bar, but yeah.
They hold hands and face each other. They're definitely drunk. They're definitely drunk, yeah.
Oh, they're so drunk, yeah.
Hido asks her if her feelings are true. And because like he's opened up now, like he's said this before as a way to be like, you didn't follow your true feelings. It's your fault that our relationship isn't. But this seems more like, I'm really struggling to decide. Can you tell me, like, I need to know if your feelings are true if I'm gonna pick you, kind of question.
Like, it's not gonna be a mistake if I pick you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just throwing this all away for nothing.
Like, he really seems to be at a crossroads where it's like he's built up this decision to be like a do or die path in his life.
Which, like, honestly, he could choose Jiyeon right now, go on some dates with her after the show, break up, and then head right back to Nayeon. No problem whatsoever. It would work out.
But he's putting a lot of emphasis in his head on this decision. And he's like, you can tell he still has feelings for Nayeon. And I wrote down some stuff in my notes like, if you were Hido, right, in this situation. Imagine you're putting emphasis on it too, like he is. Like, this is actually like you never get to see the other girl ever again.
Okay.
If you don't choose them. And you are like self-reflective of who you are and how, and like you're not going to be able to change, and this is who you are. Like,
so I know I'm a terrible person.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make any
changes.
You
rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And like, but this Nayeon girl that you've dated for the last 4 years somehow, for some reason,
puts up with me. Like, okay.
The idea of letting somebody like that go.
I'll never find another person who will put up with my absolute garbage personality.
For someone you met 2 weeks ago, it's like, from his perspective, if he's fully aware of how he is as a person, which that's the hard part to believe. But it's like, this is a huge decision if you're thinking about it like that, because he's only met a girl for 2 weeks. He wants to know if her feelings are true, which really like isn't a representation of like once she really hangs out with him more often and she sees him for who he is. But like he in reality, like he should be worried about that. Like once this person realizes how I actually am, like maybe they won't put up with me as much as Nayeon did, you know?
Yeah.
And what if Nayeon is like the one and only person that will ever
put up with his garbage?
Yeah. So like I could see, I guess I'm just explaining all this in advance, but Hido, when he gets back to the house, is gonna like sit in his car and just like sob, because whatever he is thinking about or has decided after this day of dates is like really making him like,
he has no idea what he's supposed to do.
He's feeling it. And I don't know how much alcohol is affecting this or not, but I believe and kind of actually feel the emotion he's going through now, despite how much I hate him. You know?
Yep.
It's kind of incredible.
I'll give him credit. You know how cynical I am about people dating after these shows or whatever. But he's like, if I pick you, Jiyeon, it means I want to like really date you after this show. Like I'm gonna like, that's like, he means it, instead of just like, oh, picking somebody for the show. So I'll give him credit for that, because I hardly believe that's true of anybody on these shows.
At least like it's at least like, I want you to realize what I'm giving up if I do choose you. So like so he wants her to feel like him picking her is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it is to him if he does end up picking her. And I liked how he kind of went about it, where like he's communicated, he's confusing, and when he's talking about who he's going to pick, like he's saying, if I pick you, kind of like, he's not acting. I appreciate that he's not being like, I'm picking you.
Yeah, he's not leading her on.
Whereas like the Haeun, I feel like Haeun is in a state of like, both guys probably think they're being picked. Although Han, I guess Hyungyu doesn't think, it seemed like he might not think he's being picked, but
yeah. But that's not because of anything she directly said to like communicate that to him. That's just he's picked up on it.
It would be nice if Hedo had a similar conversation with Nayeon, so Nayeon would know where he's at. But
yes. But there's only so much you could expect
stepping
from this
stones.
man.
Yeah, small progress here. All right. So yeah, if I'm supposed to like Hedo now, the show is.
They tried.
Yeah. I'll give them that. They tried.
I mean, you make me listen to anybody sob. I will probably feel bad for them given a long enough time. I did feel a little bad for him, even though don't like him at all.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm feeling more bad for Hedo than Han, honestly.
No.
That's kind of crazy to say out loud, but
it is.
No, I can't. If I had to like really say if I'd be like, who's the worst person? Yeah, it's definitely Hedo, right? But
yeah.
It's a little weird that it feels close
for
me.
Race.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's gonna sob in the car. Yeah, serious. He's got some serious FOMO going on. Like, no matter what, he's missing out on something. It's probably on ultimately how he feels. Who is Hedo picking?
I mean, obviously it's Nayeon.
Nayeon, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, everyone comes back to the house alone because these.
Yeah, they have to stagger their time because these dates were secret. So.
Except Nayeon and Gyumin got back super late, so obviously they met together.
Yeah.
When Nayeon gets back though, she sees Hedo go into Jiyeon's room and gets hella jealous.
Yup.
I don't even know if Hedo realized that she was back yet. Like,
I don't.
It wasn't like, there was no. It didn't. They didn't make it seem like this was some sort of game that Hedo was playing. It was just like he was hanging out with Jiyeon because like that's they got back relatively together because they dated together.
Yeah.
And then Nayeon gets back and sees them and is just like peeking her head out the door of her room, like creeping on them.
Also, the sun is up. Like,
oh yeah,
it is starting to rise.
Nayeon and Gyumin were out
still up
so long. What were they doing? Okay. Yeah, and then Nayeon does a super jealous move and goes to get Hedo to pull him aside from goes to Jiyeon's room to get. Jiyeon's room, pulls him aside and like takes him outside to talk, and then pretty much just like demands that he tell her how the date with Jiyeon went, right? Like, pretty much.
Yeah, and like Jiyeon has also come outside and is at a slight distance, kind of listening to their heated discussion. It is a very awkward situation.
Is this the moment that like triggered the Twitter rand guy? Like, it's like you finally were like, oh, this Hedo guy, like he actually has emotions and he's going through something, and then Nayeon just comes home and is like full on like not really, but I mean it's Hedo's fault that Nayeon doesn't know what he's going through, but like we as the audience got to see an actual like sympathetic side of Hedo, and Nayeon still has not seen that, so she's still in like full like we are a couple that argues about stuff mode.
yeah
so I am here to argue about stuff, let's go. Yeah, it seems like she really panicked that Hedo was going to like switch to Jiyeon. Like, I guess despite her saying she was 100, then 10%, then 50%, then 1%, it still feels like she thought
she's above 1% now.
She's above 1% for sure, and she thought that Hedo was picking her.
Yeah,
is the vibe I get.
And in this conversation, like he's like, "You should just pick Gyumin," and then she tells him to pick Jiyeon, but then he turns to leave, and she's like, "Wait, I'm not done with you."
Yeah, because Hedo actually tells her the truth. Like he tells her, "I had a good date and talked with Jiyeon, and then I cried a lot." Like, he actually like admits what happened.
Yeah.
Just like without being pride at all. And I will say, like, this conversation with Nayeon is definitely heavily edited, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like it went on way longer than they showed it, and it was like a little choppy. So I like the way that this is edited, if I didn't have the whole history of Hedo and Nayeon, I would actually think that Hedo is picking Jiyeon, and now he's like kind of giving Nayeon like a bit of a cold shoulder here.
Yeah.
But it's edited in like a goofy way where I think it's like some final manipulation for us to like make us think that that's what's happening, but I don't actually think it's happening.
Definitely.
But yeah, like you said, like eventually, and this is all very choppy with the edit, but he says, they make it seem like it happened right after each other. I'm not sure if that's the case, but he tells her, you should pick Human. And then they make it appear as if immediately said, and you should pick Ji-young.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in fairness to Hidu, well, this conversation seems over. So he starts to walk away, and then he grabs him as like kind of does what they did earlier in this season, where it's like I didn't like, we're not done fighting, right? Like, this is what we do. Like, let's
yeah.
Like, she says something like, I've only just started. I've only just started this argument. What are you walking away for?
And then he's like, let's go sit down, in the kitchen with Ji-young and talk. And she's like, I don't want to fight in front of her. And then he just basically runs into the house, like, to stop this conversation.
Yeah.
And then she goes to bed. Or at least she says she's going to bed.
Which all seems reasonable in the perspective that he's, like, flipped to picking Ji-young. But it could be, like, it's possible he has flipped to picking Ji-young. And then there's just, like, in the previews for next episode, it looks like they're going to have, like, some time to talk before the final decision. And who knows?
Yeah.
I don't actually know exactly where Hidu is in this moment, but I just feel like the narrative is, and maybe a little bit reading in between the lines of commenters, is that, Hidu and Nayeon are going to pick each other is where I'm at. Honestly, if Hidu and Nayeon don't pick each other, like, good on you, listeners, for not spoiling that and, like, kind of tricking us, honestly. Like,
I feel like we were mostly tricked by the Twitter rant, if anything, and I don't think that person's an actual listener. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So what happens before the end of this? Then Nayeon gets Hyungyu to pull Ji-young aside so that she can talk to Hidu again alone.
Because they're all sitting at the table, and it's very silly.
I love Hyungyu's approach to this, where he just like, "Hey, Ji-young, do you want to go talk to me?" And then they get around the corner of the room, and he's just like, yeah, Nayeon wanted me to pull you aside so that she could talk to you. Like, he just tells her exactly. Yeah. That's what I would do. Like, I might do somebody a solid, but I'm not gonna, like, come up with this, like, charade in my head and, like, like, really lie to the person. I'll just be like, yo, this is what's going down.
Especially when, like, a day prior they had an awkward conversation where he's like, I am not into you at all.
That's true. Yeah, I was kind of surprised she agreed to go talk to him one-on-one again. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, Nayeon tells Hidu she cried 4 times on their date. And I'm like, and this is still the man you want to pick. Like, okay.
Yeah. Feels like Nayeon is fighting, like, really, really fighting to try to win Hidu right now.
But she's also saying shit like, I don't think we can change and it's never going to work.
Exactly.
But it's
super weird again. It's like she's having a reaction to thinking that Hidu's not going to pick her. So chooses to pick a fight with him, and then talks about how their relationship needs to change and goes back to that conversation, which is like the exact conversation that they've already had that may or may not have contributed to why Hidu would have flipped to Ji-young. Like, doesn't really make any sense. And she's crying too, I believe. Yeah. It's all edited very weirdly though, and that's why I'm skeptical of the meaning behind it.
I just kind of, I mean, yes, that's fair. I also just assumed that, like, they tend to argue in circles and that they're just like, okay, we don't have time for the full scope of this argument. Let's just cut out a lot of the repeating bits and slap a bit in here,
But you would think, like, if she's panicking and thinks Hidu is flipping and she really cares about it, and this is, like, the most devastating thing that could possibly happen, and, like, she needs Hidu to pick her, like, you think the conversation would be more like, I was thinking about what we talked about with the changes, and you're right, like you are who you are, and who you are is a good person, and I think it's fine for you to be how you are. Like, you think, like, it would be something like that, but she's actually, like, rehashing the issues she has with him.
Yeah. And
maybe there was, like, some lead up to her saying that we're not seeing, that makes it seem more natural and less and more logical as to an argument that she's making, but yeah, it's a little weird. But yeah, and then they eventually go to bed in the early morning hours of the next day.
Yeah.
All right. And that's the end of episode 19.
Yeah, what an episode. Dang.
What a doozy.
So much stuff. So many dates.
Yeah, like, so I know. I guess for me, I want to say that I like this episode more than episode 18, and
Yeah,
trying to
this
think
one
of
was good.
why that is. Like, I think I just like that the dynamics changed for the people that have just been kind of the same for so long on the show. And like I'm not rooting for Han and Guman, but I'm just like, finally they're not doing the same thing. Like
Yeah.
they're not doing the same thing they've been doing the whole time. And Hidu's, I still don't like Hidu, but he's finally just telling Jiyeon what's going on.
Yeah.
A little bit. Just a little bit. And it's like, it's at least a positive step in some direction that I can get behind. And yeah, I'm feeling better about the show than I have in a long time.
Long time. Yeah. I like that we get the useful contrast of the people with their exes and the people with their new people, and sort of more information that seems more authentic about where they are in those pairings, you know?
Yeah.
Despite, the truth or dare, they were supposed to tell the truth or whatever, but that was, I don't know, mostly just focused on
yeah, I think
interrogating Guman.
Yeah, I think that was also good, and potentially like stuff that came out during that might be affecting what's happening in this episode. Also, just forcing the exes, like actually allowing the exes to
go on dates. Yeah,
like to me, like to us, it's always silly. Like they can be talking the whole time. Why does a date specifically need to be the platform in which they actually hash out stuff?
And yet that's what everyone has decided. So
yeah, I mean, if that's just how it goes, I guess on these shows, I guess that's how it goes. But yeah, all right, let's talk about. Do you want to do the previews, and then let's do the previews, and then we'll talk about editing stuff and final predictions.
Yeah,
all right.
I mean, previews is mostly just like everyone being angsty and contemplative about their choice.
I mean, they show Nayeon and Hidu getting to talk again before the final decision. So I don't know if that's going to impact the final decision.
I think we saw Guman and Haeun crying together again.
They're going to be crying, yeah. I'm not sure how the final decision is done on this show. I don't know if like it looked like people might be like have to sit in a car together. I don't know if you're gonna have to like say to the face of your ex like, oof, I am or am not picking you before you go like pick who you are picking. I don't know what's gonna happen at the final decision process on the show.
So Guman's gonna be driving a car and just like kick Haeun out on the side of the street in the middle of nowhere when he doesn't pick her. Is that what's about to happen?
I'm here for it.
Oh. Well, we've seen her sobbing in the streets before. Why not one more time?
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what that is. Yeah, Haeun and Hidu's decisions are the big storyline. Seems like we should be getting Tae and Naon, but that is kind of just like the dependable, this is going to happen, feel good side of the storyline that's going to happen. Yeah. So where are your predictions at, Sarah?
Okay.
Before you tell me, are these your hopeful predictions or your actual, this is what I think is going to happen predictions?
I am going to just double down on my hopeful predictions as my actual predictions, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to stand by it. Okay, so obviously Nayeon and Hidu going to pick each other. Done. Haeun and Hyungyu going to pick each other. Done. Tae, Nan going to pick each other. Done. 3 couples getting made.
Okay.
Jisoo is gonna pick Guman. Guman is gonna pick Nayeon. Wonbin is going to pick Haeun just to respectfully not pick Jisoo. Did I miss anybody?
So you're going full blown. You actually like. I didn't even bother predicting what a lot of some of these people are gonna do because it's So you said you actually think not only is Haeun and Hyungyu gonna match, but Guman is also not gonna pick Haeun.
That's like I'm at a 70% gonna pick Nayeon, 30% gonna pick Haeun is where I'm at right now.
Okay.
That's my split.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're getting Hidu and Nayeon, Guman and Haeun, and then the Tae Naon. And then I think the chances are the show would have made more of a meal out of Wonbin and Jisoo if they were gonna pick each other in the end. I still think like they could just pick each other. It doesn't mean anything, but I think the show would have made a meal out of it if it was going to happen.
I think if they did pick each other, just like friends get off the show, I think they're just not going to show them in the final episode because it very obviously is not a thing.
No, I'm just saying the show would have made it a thing if they had picked each other. I guess is what I would have suspect. So yeah, probably Jisoo picks Guman. I think Wonbin might pick Jisoo, and then Jiyoung is going to pick Hidu.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's who I forgot to say. Gion's gonna pick Hidu, obviously.
Hidu,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and then I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. If I'm forgetting anybody, they don't matter. Okay.
I think it maybe didn't say Hungyu, but obviously we know he's picking Han, so it's whatever. Yeah, you got everybody else.
Oh yeah, Hyungyu's picking Han. Yeah, of course. Okay. Okay, so you don't have the same predictions as me, so that maybe this changes.
They line up a lot, though.
Yeah, the dynamic of what I'm going to talk about is still similar, regardless. But it makes sense to me now that we're getting towards the end of the show that the producers knew more about these relationships than we might have suspected.
Okay.
Before.
Yeah.
It's a little random. It's when it's happening in the moment where like the game changers are being added, and when they're being added in the show, like it all seems very random. And it's like, okay, why was this person a game changer versus like how do they decide who is on the show to begin with and who's not, basically? As I'm predicting it, like Yumin and Heian are gonna get back together, and Nayeon and Hido are gonna get back together. To me, that is like not random that Heian and Hidu who end up being the biggest characters on the show, are the first game changers that get added.
Okay. Oh, but keep in mind, the show got fucked over because 2 people left at the beginning.
That's true.
So the timing might have changed. Like, I don't know.
But if anything,
it's just potential that affected things.
If anything, I would say, well, but those 2 were 100% going to be on the show because their exes were in the house.
So there's a potential that Non and Hyungyu would never.
If anything, were the extras.
Yeah.
So to me, I just feel like production somehow knew, despite it not making sense to us. But I feel like they knew, like, okay, Hidu and Nayeon and Heian and Gyumin are like, these are the ex couples that, in all likelihood, will get back together.
Okay.
You know, and because they know that, they like aren't gonna put them on the show together right as it starts.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this, maybe people that watched season 1, maybe this was a lesson they learned from in season 1, because I believe in season 1 they didn't. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly. For some reason, my impression was that in season 1 they added new people, but they were like both each other's ex, and the fact that somebody started the game with not their ex in the house was a new thing on this season.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they learned their lesson about something in season 1, but they decided that, like, okay, these people that we would expect to just get back together if they were in the house on day 1, we're not gonna put them in the house. We're not gonna put their exes in the house until their ex basically starts to make a connection with somebody else in the show. And then specifically, like, they chose the half of Heian and Hidu to be the late people, like the people that are probably gonna like pry more into or care more about what their ex has been doing since.
I think that's probably easy to read in the pre-interviews when they're doing them. Like, you can probably tell that Nayeon and Hidu would get back together. They have a history of breaking up and getting back together again. So that's an easy judgment right there. I think probably talking to Hidu for long enough, you can get the sense that he might be kind of a jealous dude. And that makes that easy to figure out. I think what happened with Gyumin and Heian is she cried during the pre-interview and they went, "Ooh, that's a compelling cry. We got to get this. Most of the season has to be this."
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what would make her cry? If she enters the house and her ex-boyfriend is already into somebody else. Like, I think it makes sense that that's how they got to those guys being game changers.
I feel like with Hidu and Nayeon, I actually feel like it could have gone either way, where like Hidu could have gone in the house first and Nayeon could have been the game changer.
Yeah, it might have just come down to the numbers of everybody else they picked to be in first.
Yeah.
You know?
So like, but I think with Heian and Gyumin, Heian is like clearly the better game changer.
Yeah.
So because they can't have 2 women game changers, like Hidu had to be the other one.
Yeah.
And then if the show realized that, it does make a lot of sense why they were like, we cannot let the people that we kind of expect to be the most explosive characters or give us the best content, we cannot let them get back together with their ex too fast. So we're gonna like
Yeah.
every single dating opportunity is gonna be like, you can't pick your ex, you can't pick your ex, like for the
Yeah.
for 3 weeks, 18 episodes. Like like you can't date your ex, you can't date your ex. And then at the very end, now maybe they did this in season 1, maybe it's the exact same way.
Yeah.
But I would suspect that at least they had some idea, or I don't know if they learned something from season 1 or not, but they're I don't think it's a coincidence that the 2 ex couples we're gonna get back together are the ones that were the game changers,
or at the very least, the most dramatic former couples are the game changers.
Yeah,
the ones
like
making the most TV.
Yeah, the show isn't like forcing them to pick each other, and they can't know for sure, but ultimately they know like there's going to be content as it pertains to like their jealousy, and they're not over each other, so they're gonna be something's gonna happen when they enter the house late. So yeah, now that I kind of see the full picture of how these stories are going, I do have like more of a respect for what production has pulled off here.
I mean, I still think they're pretty mean.
For sure. Yeah, like I still don't like it. Like it's not what I want to watch. But for people who like messier reality TV,
yeah, they succeeded at making that.
Yeah, this is that. This is great. Like this is great, well produced content for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not my ideal dating show.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's fine. I'm still glad we watched it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
We still got one more episode.
One more. It's all done.
It'll be interesting to see how we talk about next episode.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't go play by play since like the decisions will be made. So, oh, here's the thing. We did this another thing where people might have not appreciated this conversation last episode. We were talking about we were talking about doing like a power rankings of like the people with like the ugliest personalities. How about we put a positive spin on that, and we just do like how about we eulogize like everybody on the show, every character on the show, but we can only say positive things about them.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
Yeah, we'll do that. Some of those are going to be a little short.
And if people don't want us to do that, you have to comment and let us know before we if you even have an opportunity to let us know before we record that. But all right, I can say positive things on everybody. I mean, you'll be able to tell which ones are shorter than others. But...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we'll do that. We'll see. All right, yeah. This was a fun episode to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not even like BSing because from the comments, like people were saying, like the show is better once you get to the end. It actually, I didn't see how that was going to be possible, but it actually is correct. Yeah.
But yeah, this was a more fun episode to record and hopefully to listen to.
Yeah, we said we weren't going to talk about any of the dates, and then we recorded a 4-hour podcast.
It is.
We are literally
for a long time.
There we go. 3, 2, 1, 0. We've been recording for 4 hours right now. Right now.
Oof.
4 hours exactly.
Yeah, it's a long one.
The episode will be less than 4 hours, but we recorded for 4 hours. Anything else you want to say, Sarah? Before we get out of here?
We've been talking for 4 hours. I don't know how I could possibly have more to
I don't
say.
know. There's a lot to talk about.
That's fair.
All right, so next time we'll be talking about Transit Love 2, episode 20, the final episode. We're not going to mess around with any like reunion episodes or whatever else there is.
I don't even know if there are any.
Assuming that episode 20 is the final decisions and they happen and we get the wrap up of the main content of the show, we are going to stop there. Yeah. And then we didn't talk about what we're doing next. I think then we will be doing Heart Signal, After Signal.
Yes.
I think that's wraps
what's
up.
Next.
I want to say the last episode of that comes out like in the next like 12 hours. But I could be wrong. But I think that was all wrapped up. If it's not all wrapped up, if I'm wrong about that, maybe we'll do something else for 1 week and then go back to that. Because I just want to talk about it when it's done, and we'll talk about everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, anybody has suggestions for us about what to talk about between
now and Singles Inferno?
The end of Transit Love / After Signal, and then start Singles Inferno. Let us know. We're not going to do. We don't have time to do
full season episode to episode. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have time to do a full. Assuming Here we go. Here's the update on.
Oh yeah, we gotta check. Do we know?
Here we go. Here it is. I'm gonna go on the Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. It's official. Another season is coming. Okay, so we
Nice.
don't know when that starts, but we're assuming like mid-December is like the usual starting time for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't have time to like do a full. We're gonna talk about every episode of a show once a week, but we're trying to fill in the gaps, create some content as we go. We'll dive into different categories. If you don't stay with us through non-Korean dating show content, we'll be back with Singles Inferno. So just keep an eye out for us when that comes around. But yeah, where can people contact us, Sarah?
People can email us at keepwatchingpod@gmail.com, tweet at us at keepwatchingpod, Instagram at us at keepwatchingpod, or leave a comment under the video on YouTube, also at keepwatchingpod. And if you want to tell us how pumped you are that we are finally at the last episode of this show we've been talking about for months, literally, half of the podcast, you can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yeah, pretty much. Like episode 30. I think episode 34 was the first episode of... I'm looking at it right now. Episode 34 was the first episode of Transit Love 2 that we did. And we are now... This podcast is going to be number 63 and 64.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't all Transit Love, but yeah, it's taken
30
episodes of the podcast. So even if we did once a week, that's like
been a while.
Yeah, long ass time since we started this show. So hey, we made it. Sarah was scared when we started this. She was like, "We've never made such a commitment to anything."
Yep.
We'll never finish it, but we made it.
We're here. Well, I mean, we can't say that until we actually do it.
Well, yeah.
Got one more to go.
Feels like we made it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know if you're excited to finally stop having to listen to us talk about this show. And somehow you're still listening to us. That doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, if you're excited for us to be done with it too, you can let us know that as well. Alrighty. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.